Hello, friends. Can the ancient wisdom solve the modern CEO's biggest challenge? In order to answer this question, we dive deep into Bhagavad Gita to explore why the state of Samadhi is becoming the ultimate North Star for the 21st century executive. In the area of market volatility and constant burnout, a leader's greatest asset isn't their strategy, it is their equanimity. We break down the Sanskrit wisdom of Yajna, Kam, and Kushalam through the lens of verse 6.23, which teaches us the true mastery is a state where no external crisis can perturb your inner peace. Namaskaram, you're most welcome. Imagine a world where very air you breathe is filled with vaporized metal and the clouds are made of liquid sapphire. On the ultra hot gas giants, temperatures are so extreme that it literally rains molten iron from the sky. Today, we are diving into the lethal physics of the iron rain paradox. In the deepest reaches of our galaxy, industrial elements are being transformed into terrifying weather system that defies logic. How can a planet sustain a thermal inversion layer strong enough to liquefy metal into shimmering deadly downpour? We are going to discuss and dissect these extreme chemical cycles to uncover the secret of exotic planetary heat. Let's go and explore this further. Imagine a planet where the sky doesn't just look stormy, it literally falls apart. No water, no cloud as we know them, just clouds of vaporized metal cooling into liquid droplets that plummet to the surface. Welcome to the world of ultra hot Jupiters, specifically the exoplanet WASP 76b. That is quite an innovative name. However, WASP 776b is an ultra hot Jupiter. Today, we are diving into the physics of how iron rain happens. To understand the rain, we first need to understand the stage. WASP 76b is tidally locked. Just like our moon always shows the same face to the earth, this planet keeps one side permanently facing its host star. On the day side, the temperature hits over 2400 degrees Celsius, and that is hot enough not just to melt iron but to turn it into gas. It's literally furnace. But the physics get wilder when we look at the difference between the hemispheres. The key to this phenomena is the interplay between extreme heat and the atmospheric circulation. Because the day side is so hot, the pressure there is immense compared to the night side. The nature hates a gradient. It wants to balance the thing out. This pressure difference drives powerful supersonic winds, gales that rip across the planet at thousands of kilometers per hour. These winds act like massive conveyor belts, dragging that gaseous vaporized iron away from the furnace of the day side into the terminator zone, the thin silver of the dust that separate day from night. As the vapor crosses the terminator line, it enters the night side. The temperature drops to about 1500 degrees Celsius. While still scorching, this is the dew point for iron. Just like water vapor in our atmosphere hits a cold surface to create a condensation, the iron gas begins to lose thermal energy. It transitions from gas back into liquid state. Tiny droplets of molten iron form, and they accumulate, and the gravity pulls them down. This is a physics phase and physics of the phase transition at the most extreme. It isn't drizzle, it's a metallic downpour. falling into the deeper, denser layer of the planet where the iron is once again vaporized by the crushing pressure and the heat below. So, why study this? It is not just to marvel at the horror of the universe. Understanding the chemistry of WASP 76b help us understand and also astronomers refine our model of the planetary formation and the atmospheric evolution. By studying these hellish worlds, we learn how atmosphere react under extreme radiation, which means how we can look for life-friendly atmosphere on smaller Earth-like planets. So the next time you look at a rainy day on Earth, remember it could be much worse. Universe is a laboratory of extreme state and WASP 76b is just one example of the incredible violent beauty that exists when physics pushes matter to its absolute limit. Thanks for listening. Keep looking up. And I will also like to ask you, would you like to expand on specific atmospheric composition of WASP 76b or perhaps dive deep into how scientists measure these temperatures from light years away from Earth? Do let me know in the comments below. And I will catch you again in the next one. Hello, friends, and Namaskaram. In a landmark deal that reshapes the global AI landscape, Meta has officially partnered with Reliance Industries to build its first ever AI enabled data centers in India. Located in Jamnagar, Gujarat, this 168 megawatt facility is more than just infrastructure. It is a clear signal that India is rapidly becoming the backbone of the next generation of artificial intelligence. Let us explore this further. Hello everyone, my name is CK and welcome back to Akulmach Business. If you have been following the global tech landscape, you know the narrative has shifted. For years, the story of artificial intelligence was written almost exclusively in Silicon Valley. But today, the center of gravity is moving. Just day before yesterday on June 10th, 2026, we saw a watershed movement. Meta has officially announced its first build to suit AI data center in India, located in Jamnagar, Gujarat, in partnership with Reliance Industries. We are talking about massive 168 megawatt facility that will eventually power some of the most advanced AI workloads on this planet. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Alright, but why India? Why is a global giant like Meta pouring such massive capital into our backyard? Today we are going to peel back the layers of this strategy. This isn't just about servers, it's about the intelligence era. Let's look at the logistics. Why Jamnagar? Reliance isn't building a warehouse, because usually all the big business of Reliance, which are bulk in nature, are all located in Jamnagar. So they are building a hyperscale campus. This facility isn't just powered by the grid; it is designed for sustainability, using renewable energy and desalinated seawater for cooling. Meta is covering the cost to ensure this just isn't just big; it is efficient. And look at the geography. Jamnagar sits right next to the key undersea cable landing station. Meta is connecting this facility to Project Waterworth, the world's longest subsea cable system. This allows them to tie India's digital infrastructure directly to their global nervous system. For Meta, India isn't just a market of 1.4 billion people anymore. It is becoming a compute hub. They are betting that India's infrastructure can handle the most complex AI reasoning models, and they are backing it with over a gigawatt of renewable energy agreement with partners like CleanMax. Think back to 2016. The conversation in India was about the cost of the data. We led a revolution that made the internet accessible for everyone. Mukesh Ambani said recently, India cannot afford to rent intelligence. Therefore, we will have to reduce the cost of intelligence as dramatically as we did with the cost of data. And that is the mission. Meta's partnership with Reliance and their joint venture in artificial intelligence is aimed at democratizing high-end AI tools. And what is that we are talking about here? We're talking about starting with business agents, automating customer services across WhatsApp, Messenger, Instagram for millions of small businesses. Number two, creator assistant, giving the massive Indian creator economy the tools to analyze performance and generate content in real time. Meta is betting that if they provide the tool for intelligence, the Indian market will build the solution on top of it. So, why are they doing this now? Because the data is undeniably very important. A recent BCG report shows that India leads the world in workplace AI adoption. 97% of the Indian managers are using AI regularly. We aren't just consumers of technology, we are at its most enthusiastic implementers. When you combine our demography dividend, our massive technical talent pool, and now this world class infrastructure that Meta and Reliance are laying down, you got an ecosystem that is perfectly primed for a particular scaling. A global giant realized that if they want to win in AI, they don't just need to sell to India, they need to build in India. So, what does this mean for people like you and me? For the developers, for the business owners, and for the students watching this channel. It means the barriers to entry for AI innovation is collapsing. With the level of infrastructure, India is transitioning from service provider to global hub for AI driven transformation. We are no longer just outsourcing work, we are insourcing the intelligence revolution. As we see these data centers come online over the next 2 years, keep a close eye on the applications being built here. We are entering an era where your local business, your education system, your career will be powered by compute capacity that was previously unimaginable. So, friends, once again, my name is CK and this is Akulmach Business. If you found this deep dive valuable, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments. Do you think India will become the #1 global destination for AI development by 2030? Let us discuss it more, and I await your messages and opinions. See you in the next one. हेलो दोस्तों, नमस्कार। आप सबका स्वागत है। आज 6 जुलाई है और आज सोमवार का दिन है और आप सबको पता है कि जो सोमवार का दिन होता है वो भगवान शिव के लिए समर्पित होता है। तो आज हम अपना दिन शुरू करेंगे पूजा करके। हर रोज की तरह हम हर रोज पूजा करते हैं, तो आज शिव जी की पूजा हम करेंगे। हर रोज की तरह हम जैसे पूजा करते हैं, मंत्र का उच्चारण करते हैं, तो ये काउंटर मैं यूज करता हूँ। आप जैसे आपको सहूलियत हो, जैसे आपको अच्छा लगे, आप माला का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं और आप मन में भी गिन सकते हैं। लेकिन हमारा जो मंत्र है वो 11 दफा करना है, तो आज हम महामृत्युंजय का जाप करेंगे 11 दफा। तो ध्यान रहे इस चीज का आप अच्छी तरह पालन करें। भगवान शिव का ध्यान कर लें, हाथ जोड़ के नमन कर लें और अब हम अपना पाठ शुरू करते हैं महामृत्युंजय का मंत्र। ठीक है, ऑल राइट। ओम त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृतात् सद्यो जातं प्रपागामि भगवन् मृत्युं जय शिवम् अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृतात् सद्यो जातं प्रपागामि भगवन् मृत्युं जय शिवम् अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृतात् सद्यो जातं प्रपागामि भगवन् मृत्युं जय शिवम् अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकम मजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वाकरुक्मिव बंधनान् मृत्युर्मोक्षीय मामृतात् सज्ञो जातं प्रपागमि भगवन्त मृत्युम जय शिवम अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकम मजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वाकरुक्मिव बंधनान् मृत्युर्मोक्षीय मामृतात् सज्ञो जातं प्रपागमि भगवन्त मृत्युम जय शिवम अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकम मजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वाकरुक्मिव बंधनान् मृत्युर्मोक्षीय महामृतात् सज्ञो जातं प्रपागमि भगवन्त मृत्युम जय शिवम अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकम मजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वाकरुक्मिव बंधनान् मृत्युर्मोक्षीय मामृतात् सज्ञो जातं प्रपागमि भगवन्त मृत्युम जय शिवम अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकम मजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वाकरुक्मिव बंधनान् मृत्युर्मोक्षीय मामृतात् सज्ञो जातं प्रपागमि भगवन्त मृत्युम जय शिवम अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकम मजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वाकरुक्मिव बंधनान् मृत्युर्मोक्षीय महामृतात् सज्ञो जातं प्रपागमि भगवन्त मृत्युम जय शिवम अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकम मजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वाकरुक्मिव बंधनान् मृत्युर्मोक्षीय महामृतात् सज्ञो जातं प्रपागमि भगवन्त मृत्युम जय शिवम अभयामि। ओम त्र्यंबकम मजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वाकरुक्मिव बंधनान् मृत्युर्मोक्षीय महामृतात् सज्ञो जातं प्रपागमि भगवन्त मृत्युम जय शिवम अभयामि। ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय। तो दोस्तों, आज हमारा पूजा हमारी समाप्त हुई। अब हम अपना दिन शुरू कर सकते हैं। तो आपका दिन और आपका हफ्ता सप्ताह अच्छा बीते, मंगलमय हो, इसी कामना के साथ अब हम आपसे विदा लेते हैं, लेकिन जल्दी ही मिलते हैं दूसरे वीडियो में। धन्यवाद। Friends, Namaskaram, you are most welcome. Let me ask you, is your temper costing you more than just professional reputation? In the high stake world of C suite, emotional control isn't just a soft skill, it is a critical business strategy. In this episode, we dive deep into the ancient wisdom and we will take help from Bhagavad Gita to uncover why anger is the single greatest liability to the executive decision making. Let's go. We often talk about competitive advantages in business. We talk about market share, supply chain, optimization, AI integration, and capital allocation. But today, I want to talk about your biggest liability. It is not your competitor, it is not the economy, it is not a supply chain disruption. It is something that lives inside most of the critical asset of your company, that is the CEO's mind. I'm talking about anger. And before you dismiss this just as a human nature or passion, I want you to understand that in a high stake world of C suite, anger is not a leadership trait. It is a system failure. It is a silent killer of the empires, startups, and legacies. Today, we are going to break down the science of why this happens using the timeless framework from Bhagavad Gita mentioned in chapter 2, verse 63, to understand why emotional control is the ultimate executive strategy. Now, let's look at the wisdom from the Gita, and the quote starts: Anger compound delusion, Delusion leads to loss of memory, which in turn destroys the power of discrimination. Loss of discrimination means loss of self and feeling to the material consciousness again. And the quote close. Let us now translate this into modern leadership language. The verse describes a specific sequential, chemical, and the psychological chain reaction. Anger compounds delusion. When you get angry, you stop seeing the world as it is and start seeing it as a fear it to be. You create a false reality. Next is loss of memory. This is critical for a CEO. When you are angry, your mind shuts off access to your database, your experience, your past failures, your previous lessons, your long term strategy. You lose access to the very data you need to make the most appropriate and the right decision. Next is loss of discrimination. Discrimination here doesn't mean bias, it means discriminate, ability to tell the difference between a minor setback and a company ending crisis. Next is loss of self. You cease to be a leader you intend to be. You become a reactionary figurehead. This is an executive downfall spiral, and it happens faster than you think. Think about the last time you made a decision in anger. Maybe it was an email sent late at night. Maybe it was firing, that you later regret. Maybe it was an acquisition you pushed through because you wanted to win the negotiation rather than making a sound investment. In the boardroom, when you enter this delusion state, you lose the ability to see the objective truth. Your team stops bringing you bad news because they fear your reaction. Your culture shifts from innovation to survival. If you are a CEO or an entrepreneur anywhere globally, you know that your primary job is to be the chief decision making officer. Your ability to discern is like your product. When you're angry, you have essentially bricked your own operating system. You're trying to run a multi-million dollar company on a system that is compromised by emotion. That, by definition, is a liability. So, friends, how do we fix this? How do we stop the loop? You don't suppress the emotion, you intercept the signal. So, there are a few steps which I would like to suggest to you. Step one, pattern interrupt. The moment you feel that the heat in your chest or that tightening in your jaw, you have to hit a circuit breaker. Physically stand up, leave the room, step away from the screen. Neuroscience tells us that it takes about 90 seconds for an emotional chemical rush to dissipate. If you can stay silent for 90 seconds, you regain your prefrontal cortex, your seat of logic. Step number two, data retrieval. Force yourself to look at the facts. Strip the story you are telling yourself about why someone is out to get you or why this project is failing. Ask, what is the actual verifiable data here? This reactive process reactivates the memory that the Gita mentions. The wisdom you have built over your career, over your experience. Step number three is perspective shift. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Will you know? Will it mean anything to you in 5 years? For example, will this matter mean anything in 5 months? Will this matter mean anything to you in 5 weeks? If the answer is no, stop treating it like a five alarm fire. This restores your power of discrimination. You are not an emotional robot. You are the leader. Your team relies on your equanimity. When the storm hit, the ship doesn't, get angry at the waves. It adjusts the rudder. So be the rudder. Be like a rudder, right? Leadership is the art of mastery. Mastery over markets, mastery over technology, but most importantly, mastery over oneself. The Gita warned us thousands of years ago, and modern neuroscience confirms it today. If you cannot govern your mind, you cannot govern your enterprise. So we believe that the integration of these ancient strategies with the modern technology is the key to the next generation of business success. Therefore, we bring these episodes to you every day. So, friends, if you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, share this with your fellow leaders who need to hear it. Don't let your emotions be your company's biggest liability. Keep your head clear, keep your strategy sharp, and you will see, the things will basically take a better turn. I will see you in the next one. My name is CK, and thanks for watching. Hello, friends. Welcome. Is your leadership style stuck on a treadmill of a quarterly targets and reactive firefighting? If yes, then you've reached the right place, because in this video, we are going to decode the profound wisdom found in Bhagavad Gita, specifically mentioned in chapter 8, and we will translate it into a high level exit strategy for modern CEOs and business leaders. In this section, we will also discuss, or rather, decode what Bhagwan Krishna speaks of this cycle of birth and death as a place of misery and offers a path to the ultimate bliss and perfection. For the 21st century executives, this cycle is the exhausting loop of temporary wins, market volatility, and burnout. Let's discuss this further. If you're watching this, you're likely a leader, a founder, or an executive, a very senior executive. And if you're being honest, you have felt it too. It's the corporate treadmill. You hit your Q1 target, and for a moment, there is a rush of success. But by Monday morning, the success has evaporated, replaced by the pressure of Q2. It is a cycle of birth and death. The birth of a project, death of a quarter, the constant fluctuation of the market. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 15, Bhagwan Krishna described this material world as a place of misery and transience. To the modern CEO, this isn't just a spiritual poetry, it's a perfect description of the reactive business environment. Today, we are going to discuss the exit strategy for excellence, how to stop running the cycle and start achieving what the Gita calls the ultimate perfection. So, friends, before we move forward, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Let's proceed further. Let us look at the verse itself, and the verse starts, having attained me, these great souls do not again suffer rebirth in this transient world full of misery, because they have attained their highest perfection. Quote close. In Sanskrit, the word means temporary, and therefore think about your last three wins. How long did the satisfaction last? A week? An hour? Think about it. Most CEOs spend their lives building a sandcastle while the tide is coming in. Krishna isn't saying the world is bad. He's saying it is the inconsistent. If your happiness or your sense of excellence is tied to things that shift, like market cap, public opinion, or interest rates, you are being defined by some sort of market definition, and therefore in state of misery, because you are in a state of constant anxiety. The exit strategy isn't about quitting your job, it's about exiting this mental framework of dependency. The verse refers to the great souls. In business context, what separates a manager from a Mahatma? Very big question, right? So let me try and explain this. Detach from the result, attach to the purpose. That is the definition of Mahatma. A great soul, like when Krishna says, like me, when a CEO attach their identity to a higher mission, something beyond just the bottom line, they become immune to the misery of daily fluctuations. Next is the strategic stillness. When you aren't afraid of the death of a project or dip in the stock, you make better decisions. You aren't operating from a place of survival. You are operating from a place of vision. Imagine a CEO who doesn't panic when the cycle turns downwards. Why? Because they have already achieved a perfection within their own leadership philosophy that the market cannot touch them. And that is the ultimate competitive advantage. So, how do we reach this ultimate bliss? It starts with perfection around pivot. Perfection in Gita isn't about the bug-free code or a flawless balance sheet. It's about dharma, which is the right action. For a CEO, ultimate bliss is the clarity that comes when your internal values, perfectly align with your external actions. When you stop chasing the temporary and start building the eternal, which is your legacy, your people, your impact, etc., the misery of the corporate cycle begins to fade away. You stop asking, how do I survive this quarter? And start asking, how do I serve the highest good through this enterprise? Ironically, when you stop obsessing over the material, which is rebirth of your profit, you often find that the profit follows you because you are now leading with clarity and that there is no lack of information within you. So, what is your exit strategy? Most CEO plan for a financial exit, a buyout, or a retirement. But the Gita suggests a spiritual exit, exiting the state of being a slave of your circumstances. By applying the wisdom of chapter 8, verse 15, you transition from a leader who is cycling to a leader who has attained perfection. You move from misery of the transient to the bliss of transcendent. Next time you feel the wall closing in or the pressure of cycle mounting, remember, you are a great soul. Your excellence doesn't depend on the world staying still. It depends on you finding the stillness within the moment. Thank you for joining me on this journey into Gita. Lead with purpose, lead with bliss, and achieve your own version of ultimate perfection. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send it across, and I will see you again in the next one. Before I part ways today, let me say a few words about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. Are you feeling stuck in the middle class? Then this video is your guide to breaking free. We will reveal the hidden financial traps that are keeping you from true financial freedom, and we will also share the actionable strategies to escape 9 to 5 grind. You will learn how to build a passive income stream, invest for long term growth, and develop a mindset called wealth creation. If you're ready to stop trading time for money and start building a life of financial independence, you have to stay tuned because we are going to explore all of this. Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Look, let's be honest for a moment. Are you tired? Tired of endless cycles, the 9 to 5 grind, the bills piling up, the feeling that no matter how hard you work, you are just, trading through these waters. You might be even earning a decent income, but somehow true financial freedom feels like a distant dream. The feeling, my friend, is what I call the middle class trap. It's a comfortable cage designed by the socialite expectations, clever marketing, and often our own ingrained financial habits. So, therefore, in this video, we are not just going to talk about it, we are going to give you a blueprint, a step by step guide on how to identify the trap, break free from the cycle, and start building the life of financial independence that you truly deserve. This isn't about getting rich quick, it's about getting rich smart and sustainably. So, if you are ready to escape the middle class mindset and build the lasting wealth, stick around because you are in the right place. First, we need to understand what exactly the middle class trap is. It's not a poverty trap, it's a comfort trap. It's an illusion of security that keeps us from taking the necessary risks and making the bold moves required for true wealth. Let's break down the common pitfalls. We have been told to get a good job, work hard, climb the ladder, and that's fine for the security, but it often means trading all your time for money. Your income is capped, and your wealth building potential is limited to your working hours. So, as your income increases, so do your expenses. New car, big house, more expensive vacations, designer clothes. You feel richer, but you're just spending more, often, going deeper into debt. You are running faster just to stay in the same place. Credit card debts, car loans, personal loans, student loans. Debt is an anchor that weigh down your financial progress. It steals future earnings and prevents you from investing in your future. We will talk about good debt versus bad debt later, but most middle class debt is a bad debt. Schools don't teach us about investing, compounding interest, or building assets. We learn by trial and error, often making costly mistakes. This isn't your fault, but it is your responsibility to fix it. So I will start, by saying that you have to invest someday, and you have to also say that I will save more later. Maybe I will take that risk when I have more security. Someday rarely comes. Procrastination is the silent killer of the wealth. Escaping the middle class isn't just about changing your actions, it's about changing your mindset. The wealth think differently about money, the risk, and also the time. Here are the critical mindset shifts. Uh, the middle class basically consumes, they are the de facto consumers. The wealthy produce instead of just buying things, think about creating value, solving problems, and building assets. How can you create a product, a service, or investment that generates income? And the goal isn't just to earn more, it's to earn more efficiently so you can buy back your time. Your time is your most valuable asset. The wealthy focus on building systems and investment that makes more money without their active daily involvement. The wealthy understand and manage it well as well. This doesn't mean being reckless, but understanding that stagnation is often greater risk than well thought out ventures. And things like education, skills, networking, these are your most potent assets. The wealthy are lifelong learners, constantly upgrading their knowledge and expanding their network. Read books, take courses, find mentors. The middle class often think in terms of immediate gratification. The wealthy think, on the other hand, in decades. They have a long term plan. They understand the power of compound interest and delayed gratification. All right, with the right mindset in place, let's talk about the practical steps before you jump into the big investment. You need solid foundation. These are non-negotiable. You can't control what you don't measure. Know exactly where every dollar goes. Use apps, spreadsheet, whatever works for you. This isn't about restrictions, it's about awareness and control. So, where are the actionable tips? Well, download a budgeting app or create a simple spreadsheet today. So, credit card debt, personal loans, if you have, pay it off aggressively. Every dollar you spend on interest is a dollar you can't invest in your future. Use the debt snowball or debt avalanche method to clear all of these. Aim for 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a separate, easily accessible savings account. This is your safety net, preventing you from going back into debt when unexpected life events happen. While cutting expenses is crucial, there is a limit. There is no limit on how much you can earn. There is a limit on how much you can cut, but there is no limit on how much you can earn. So, alright, are you getting paid what you are worth? Research market rates, build your case and ask for raises. Invest in courses or certification that makes you more valuable in your current job or open doors to higher paying roles. Explore ways to make extra money outside your 9 to 5 job. Things like freelancing, consulting, online businesses. These are not just extra cash, they are training ground for entrepreneurship. Pay yourself first. Let us set up an automatic transfer from your checking to your savings and investment accounts before you have a chance to spend it all. So you basically park your money and then you get over the urge of spending more. All right. So once your foundation is solid, it is time to shift your focus from solely earning money to having your money work for you. This is where the wealthy truly separate themselves. These are low cost, diversified, and hands off way to invest in the entire market, perfect for a long term growth. Max out these tax advantaged retirement accounts. The tax benefits are immense, and time is your biggest ally with compounding. Buy properties and rent them out for passive income and appreciation. This often requires more capital and effort, but can be very rewarding. The way to invest in real estate without directly owning property is also you must explore. More liquid, less management intensive, and that is the property of the investment that you're seeking. This is arguably the fastest way to build significant wealth. Whether it is a brick or mortar or an online business, it gives you control, scalability, and uncapped income potential. E-commerce, content creation, consulting, digital products, low overhead, global reach, some of the ideas that I can throw right now. So there you have it. A comprehensive blueprint to escape the middle class trap and building the financial freedom you have been dreaming of. This journey isn't easy and it won't happen overnight. There will be a challenge, there may be setbacks and moments of doubt. But remember this, you are capable. You have the power to change your financial destiny. It starts with decision. A decision to stop accepting the status quo, to take control, and to build a life on your own terms. This isn't about hoarding money, it's about gaining options, option to travel, to spend more time with loved ones, to pursue your passion, to contribute to the cause you care about, and to live life on your own terms. Don't let the someday mentality hold you back. Your journey starts now. Pick one thing from this video, just one, and implement it today. So, friends, if this video resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this, and leave a comment or question in the comment section below. And hopefully, you will be richer when we meet next time. So, friends, see you in the next one. Hello, friends, and namaskaram. On January 9th, the year is 2007, the tech world shifted on its axis. When Steve Jobs walked onto the Macworld stage, he wasn't just launching a phone, he was introducing a pocket sized computer that would fundamentally transform how we communicate, work, and exist. In this video, we dive deep into the history of the original iPhone, from the risk of abandoning the physical keyboard to the gamble on a multi touch interface. We analyze why Apple's revolutionary product became the blueprint for the entire smartphone industry. We explore the tech, the design, the philosophy, and the cultural impact that was created uh, by this particular device that we live with today. We cannot imagine living without a smartphone. So let's go and explore the history again. So, friends, close your eye. Let me take you back to the year 2006. If you wanted to check your email, you went to a desk. If you wanted to take a photo, you carried a dedicated camera. If you wanted to listen to music, you pulled out an iPod. And if you wanted to make a phone call, you used a plastic brick with physical buttons that felt like they were designed for someone with tiny precision engineered thumbs. Mobile communication was functional, yes, but it was limited. It was clunky. It was disconnected. Then on January 9th, 2007, the world shifted. As the Mac World Convention in San Francisco, one man walked on stage and introduced a device that didn't just change the industry, it invented the modern world as we know it today. We are looking back at the first iPhone and why it remained the most important piece of consumer tech ever built. Before the iPhone, the smartphone market was complicated. It was dominated by business first devices. If you had a smartphone, it usually meant you had a QWERTY keyboard permanently taking up the half the screen. The mobile internet was miserable experience. Most WAP sites, slow loading time, and the text only interface. We accept this. We accept it, right? We thought that was as good as we would ever get. The industry was obsessed with more and more buttons, more physical styluses, and more complexities. So, friends, before we move forward, please let us know from which city or country you have tuned in into this video. All right, let's continue. The Apple's approach was radically different. They didn't want to build a better phone. They wanted to build a computer you could carry in your pocket. But the challenge was massive. They had to solve the keyboard problem. How do you make a phone when the screen is on the phone itself? When Steve Jobs took the stage, he did something masterful. He teased the audience. He said, I've been looking forward to this for 2.5 years. He told us that he was releasing three products: an iPod with touch control, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communicator. He repeated it over and over and over. And then he dropped the bombshell. These weren't three separate devices, it was just one. The audience erupted. But the true genius wasn't just the marketing, it was in the rejection of the stylus. Jobs famously asked, who wants a stylus? You have to get them, put them away, or you will lose them, right? Apple bet everything on human finger. They bet on multi touch, and it was a massive gamble. In 2007, the capacitive touchscreen were very expensive, unproven, and notoriously difficult to make responsive. If that screen didn't work, if it lagged or misread your taps, the entire product would have been a laughing stock. So, why did it work? It wasn't just the screen, it was the software. Apple essentially shrunk a version of Mac OS down to fit on a handheld device. It had a real web browser, Safari, that showed real websites, not those stripped down mobile versions everyone else was forcing us on back in the day. Let's talk about that interface. It was fluid. It had inertia scrolling. You could pinch to zoom. These gestures feels like second nature now, like breathing. But in 2007, they felt like magic. It felt like the device was reading your mind. The grid of the icon was intuitive. It removed the barrier to entry. You did not need a manual to use an iPhone. You just touched it and it responded. By removing the physical keyboard, they turned the phone into a blank canvas. Today, you see your phone for maps, banking, photography, and streaming. In 2007, the iPhone made all of that possible by creating a screen that could change its function instantly. The iPhone didn't just change the mobile market, it changed the human behavior. It accelerated the age of always on connectivity. Before the iPhone, your digital life was tethered to a desk. After the iPhone, the internet was a constant companion in your pocket. It gave birth to the App Store a year later, which revolutionized the global economy, spanning entirely new industries like ride sharing, food delivery, and social media dominance. Every smartphone you see today, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, is a direct descendant of that 2007 design. The large screen, the lack of physical keyboard, the gesture based navigation, every single one of them is living in the shadow of that first keynote. Looking back, it is easy to dismiss the first iPhone. It had no 3G, no App Store at launch, and the camera was not very good quality. But judging it by today's spec is missing the point. The first iPhone wasn't just about hardware, it was about a vision. It was about realizing that we are entering a new era of computing. It took the complexity of technology and made it more human. It turned the phone into a tool for creativity, connection, and discovery. And that more than any other feature is why we still talk about it nearly 2 decades later. So, what was your first smartphone experience? Please share your experience in the comment section below. Did you make the jump to iPhone early or did you hold out for something else? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the tech that define our lives. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you again in the next one. Hello, friends, and namaskaram. What would happen to the global economy if the humans suddenly lost the ability to lie? Very important question, and therefore, in this video, we dive into the fascinating thought experiment. If honesty became the only option for every human on earth, which major industries would collapse first? From high stake advertising to political campaigning to the complex world of corporate PR and everyday sales, we analyze the business model that depends entirely on the white lie. Let's go. Imagine waking up tomorrow in a world where white lies are physically impossible. You go to work, your boss asks, how was your weekend? And instead of the polite, it was great, thanks, you are compelled to say, it was miserable. I spent the whole time stressed about this presentation. Now imagine that the same filter or lack of thereof applied to every transactions, every advertisement, and every political speech on the planet. Today, we are embarking on a thought experiment. If the humanity suddenly lost the ability to deceive, which industries would crumble under the weight of the absolute truth? We are looking at the sectors built on foundation of the lie. First, let's look at the titan of the industry that might face the swiftest collapse, which is advertising. Market is often described as the art of persuasion, but let's be honest, it frequently relies on misleading implications. Think about the weight loss supplement that claims this pill will help you shed pounds. Is it a lie? Technically, it might work for one person, but implies a result that isn't a universal result or a guaranteed result. If human couldn't lie, ads would have to become terrifyingly literal. No more the best coffee in the world. Just this coffee is produced by a factory that pays its employee minimum wage and use medium quality beans. The industry spent billions on creating a vibe rather than conveying the data. If we strip away the aspirational imagery and exaggerated promises, the entire multi-trillion-dollar advertising machine would grind to an halt. Then there is the classical industry, which is used in the as a car salesman. We have all heard the stories about the cars that is in perfect condition, right up until the moment it leaves the garage. This industry relies on information asymmetry, the idea that the seller knows the flaws and the buyer doesn't. If a salesperson was suddenly incapable of omitting the fact that the transmission is failing or that the vehicle was in floods, business model would implode instantly. It's not just cars. It's any business where the seller holds more information than the buyer. In a world of absolute truth, buyer beware disappears, replaced by seller forced to confess. Without the ability to bury the bad news, these transactions would become either brutally honest or non existent. So, friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Now, let's talk about the industry that thrive on the spin, which is politics. The public relation is in many ways the art of controlling a narrative by selecting which truth to be highlighted and which to bury. If the politicians are incapable of lying, the standard campaign trail would disappear overnight. Imagine a debate where a candidate is asked, "How will you fund the tax cut?" And they are forced to say, "I have no idea. I'm just saying this to get your vote." The political apparatus, which is built on campaign promise that was rarely kept, would require a total restructuring. It wouldn't just be very embarrassing, it would be immediate crisis of legitimacy for governments worldwide. We have to touch on the corporate office too. The white lie is a grease that keeps the professional engine running. Your presentation was great. I will get right on that. Or it's not you, it is the company restructuring. Research shows that maintaining these lies take immense mental and physical energy. While honesty is generally better for our health and stress levels, our professional culture is built on a layer of social cushioning. If that layer vanishes, the HR department would be overwhelmed and the professional relationships would either shatter or become purely fictional, right? The office wouldn't be necessarily go bankrupt, but the culture of modern workplace would be unrecognizable. So if the marketing, used car sales, political campaigning are in the danger zone, what would survive then? The industry is based on hard facts and tangible value, engineering, scientific research, and logistics. When you are building a bridge, you cannot spin the structural integrity. The truth is forced upon by the gravity itself. The company would survive and thrive are the ones that have been selling truth all along. In a world without lies, transparency becomes the ultimate competitive advantage. Ultimately, a world without lie would be a world of radical efficiency, but it would also be incredibly painful. We rely on these little lies to maintain our social fabric. So, what do you think, friends? If we had to choose one industry to wipe off from the map of the earth, would it be advertisers, the politicians, or the car salesmen? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into what if of our world. Thanks for watching. I will catch you again very soon. Hello friends, welcome once again. The biggest question in the boardroom today is the CEO or the leadership burnout. And it's becoming a very big problem in the 21st century, especially in 2026. So let me ask you, can ancient wisdom solve the 21st century burnout crisis? Therefore, in this video, we dive deep into Bhagavad Gita to uncover the secret weapon of the world's most effective CEOs, the inward gaze. While most leadership training focuses on the external strategy, the Gita teaches that the true power comes from the internal mastery. Let us explore this further. Friends, close your eyes for a second, but not that long, because you got a company to run. Think about your morning. How many notifications did you get before you wake up, right? So as you waking up, you see so many notifications in your email, right? A market dip in Asia, a key hire resignation, a competitor's aggressive new acquisition. As a CEO, your mind is battlefield. You are expected to be most external person in the organization, watching the charts, the people, and the future as well. But what if I told you that the most successful leaders in history, the one who remain unshakable when the ship is sinking, don't look outward for their primary strategy. They actually look inwards. Today we are decoding 7,000-year-old blueprint for executive excellence. It comes from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verse 28. It's verse about liberation, but for a modern leader, it's a manual for mental sovereignty. Let's look at the text of the verse 28, right? And the quote starts, shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eye and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breathing within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind and senses and intelligence. The transcendental leader seeking liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. Quote close. Well, friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Alright, moving on. At first glance, this sounds like a guide for a monk in a cave. But let's translate this into a CEO speak. Let's look at it again. Shutting your external sense object, which is equal to filtering out the noise. Data is useful, but noise is deadly. Next is vision between the eyebrows. Single pointed focus, eliminating shiny object syndrome. Next, suspending the breathing, regulating the nervous system. You cannot lead if your body is in a permanent state of fight or flight, right? Free from desire, free from anger. That is the next phrase. This is the definition of objective decision making. Why does CEO need an inward gaze? Because the biggest threat in your company isn't the competition. It is your own unprocessed reactivity. When the CEO reacts out of fear, they cut cost into too early and stifle innovation. When they react out of desire, they over leverage and chase vanity metrics. When they react out of anger, they destroy corporate culture. The inward gaze mentioned in Gita is about becoming witness. In business psychology, we call this metacognition. It is the ability to watch your thoughts without being hijacked by them. Imagine a board meeting where room is heated, everyone is shouting, and if your gaze is inward, you aren't caught in the emotional crossfire. You are observing the pattern. You are the eye of the storm. That is a secret weapon. It allows you to see the signal while everyone else is drowning in the noise. The verse specifically mentioned equalizing the inhalation and exhalation. What does a spiritual techs care about breathing? Well, because your breathe is the remote control of your brain. Many of us know this fact. Breathing is the only a process in the body which can be controlled by you, as well as it is involuntary as well. Even if you don't think about breathing, your body continues to breathe, right? So there is a fine line using which you can start controlling your mind. So it's a common knowledge. Now let's proceed further. Science tells us that when you are stressed, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. This triggered the situation that most of us are anxiety situation that most of us are suffering. The primitive part of the brain, which it controls this whole thing, is basically creating an environment of fear in your brain. You lose access to your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for complex strategy and empathy. The Gita was teaching biohacking long before the term even existed. By equalizing the breathing, you manually reset your nervous system. The boardroom application, how does it apply in the boardroom? Before you walk into a high stress negotiation, or before you hit that send button on a difficult email, you practice verse 28. You equalize the breathing. You move from state of threat to the state of resourcefulness. This is how you command a room without saying a word. And that is a true executive presence. The final part of the verse says this path leads to liberation. For a CEO, what is liberation? It is a freedom from being a slave to the stock price, slave to the ego, or even opinion of the industry. So Gita teaches a concept called Nishkam Karma, acting without attachment to the results. This doesn't mean you don't care about profits. It means you are so focused on the excellence of the process that you aren't paralyzed by the fear of the outcome. When you are free from the fear of the and desire, you can make hard decisions. You can pivot the company when it is unpopular. You can stand by your values when it is expensive. You are liberated from the need for external validation, which makes you one of the most dangerous and effective leader in the market. So how do you master this inward gaze? It's not about quitting your job to meditate. It's about integrating Gita into your workflow. And how you can do that? Starting with morning silence. Spend 5 minutes shutting out sense object. No phones, no email, just your breathing. Start thinking about your breathing process only for 5 minutes. All right. Next, 3 breathe rule. Before every meeting, equalize your inhalation and exhalation. Equal, right? Slow it down. Next, the mirror check. Ask yourself, am I moving towards the goal out of fear or out of purpose? Right? Mastering the inward gaze doesn't make you a passive leader at all. It makes you an unstoppable one. It transforms you from a CEO who is pushed by the world into a leadership role, or another person is who's actually shaping the world itself. Right? So it transforms that. Gita says that this is a way for the liberation for the leadership role. In the business world, we just call it the greatness. So friends, what do you think? If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for joining live. Thanks for watching. And if you found this leadership lesson valuable, subscribe for more ancient wisdom for the modern businesses. Now you can go lead from within. All right. So before we end this section, I'd like to speak few words about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. and these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. Hello friends, in this section of our live stream, we dive deep into the groundbreaking journey of the Artemis 2 mission, where human crew finally ventured into the shadow of the moon. For decades, we have relied on the robotic probes to map the lunar far side, but the human eye sees what camera often misses. Join us as we explore the incredible sights witnessed by crew from never before seen crater complex to eerie rugged terrain of the lunar South Pole. Let's go and explore this further. For over 50 years, the far side of the moon has been a place of myth and robotic photography. We have seen the grainy black and white photos from the Soviet probes and high definition scans from the lunar reconnaissance orbiters. But until April 2026, no human eye had looked upon the moon's hidden face since the end of Apollo program. On April 1st, 2026, four pioneers, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, shook the Florida coast as they rode a pillar of fire into the sky. They weren't just going back to the moon, they were going beyond it. Artemis 2 was designed to test the limits of the Orion spacecraft, but it becomes something much more. A voyage into the darkness where humans saw things that camera simply cannot capture. Today we are looking at what the crew of Artemis 2 discovered when they crossed into the lunar night. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. As Orion moved away from Earth, the crew achieved a milestone that had stood from over half a century. On April 4th, they officially surpassed the distance recorded set by Apollo 13, reaching a maximum distance of over 252,760 miles from our home planet. But the real mission began on April 6th. As the spacecraft swung around the moon, the crew prepared for the loss of signal, which is LOS. This is the moment when the massive bulk of moon blocks all radio waves from Earth. For 40 minutes, the crew of Artemis 2 were almost isolated humans in history. In fact, the most isolated humans, completely alone in the silent vacuum of the lunar far side. It was during this window of silence that the unseen moon began to reveal itself, reveal its secret. Why is the far side so different? To the naked eye, the side of the moon we see from Earth is covered in something called Maria, those dark, smooth volcanic plains. But as the Artemis crew looked at through their window, they saw a world that was rugged, battered, and almost entirely mountainous. They passed over the Hertzsprung Basin, a massive double-ringed impact crater that stretches over 300 mile, almost 300 mile wide. Mission specialist Christina Koch noted the intricate rings of the basin, which looked far more 3D and jagged than the satellite photo had ever suggested before that. But then something unexpected happened. As they moved into the moon's shadow, the crew witnessed a rare in space solar eclipse. From their perspective, the moon completely swallowed the sun. The pilot Victor Glover described the sight as unreal. When the sun blocked, the crew could see the sun's corona, its ghostly outer atmosphere, flaring out from behind the black disk of the moon. But even more incredible was the Earth's shine, because the Earth was nearly full from the moon's perspective. It reflected enough light to actually illuminate the dark surface of the moon in a soft, eerie blue glow. Perhaps the most startling discovery made during those hours in the darkness was something the scientists back at NASA hadn't explicitly planned for. While peering at the darkened lunar surface, the crew began to report seeing pinpricks of lights. Commander Reed Wiseman radioed back once communication was restored, and he said, the quote start, that was definitely an impact flash. And Jeremy just saw another one. And the quote close. So in total, the crew reported 6 distinct meteoroids striking and hitting the moon in real time. These were tiny space rocks slamming into the lunar soil at tens and thousands of miles per hour, exploding in a millisecond long burst of bluish white light. Why is this a big deal? Because it proves that the moon is under constant bombardment. For future missions like Artemis 3, where astronauts will actually live on the surface, understanding the frequency of these impact flashes is a matter of life and death. The crew's eyes were able to detect this tiny, fast event that most automated satellite would have definitely missed. Artemis 2 splashed down safely in the Pacific on April 10th, 2026, but the data they brought back is changing everything. We know that the far side topology is even more complex than we imagined, and that the dark side of the moon is far more active than we once thought. So as we look towards the future, to the first woman and the next man walking on the lunar South Pole, we do so with the knowledge gathered by 4 people who went into the darkness, came back with a new vision of our closest neighbor, which is the unseen moon. So the unseen moon is unseen no longer. So if you want to stay updated on the upcoming Artemis 3 landing and the future of Mars exploration, make sure to hit the subscribe button. The journey is just beginning, and I will see you in the next one. Before I leave this section, a word about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. Hello friends, did you know that Oracle just secured a massive $300 million windfall, and the cloud computing landscape will never be the same? In this video, we break down how Larry Ellison's tech giant pulled off this incredible financial feat and what it means for the escalating cloud wars against the giants like AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud. As the enterprise demand for AI integrated cloud infrastructure skyrockets, Oracle positions itself as a dominant force. We will analyze the specific deals that led to this jackpot, the impact on Oracle's stock, and why the analysts are shifting their outlook on the company's long-term growth. Let's go and explore this further. For decades, the cloud wars had a predictable hierarchy. Amazon, Microsoft, and Google sat on the throne while everyone else fought, for the crumbs. But in late 2025 and moving into 2026, the script has been flipping. In fact, it has flipped completely now. Oracle, the company your dad knew for databases, just hit another 300 billion jackpot. This isn't just a win, it's a tectonic shift. We are talking about a massive multi-year deal with OpenAI that has sent Oracle's backlog or remaining performance obligations soaring to an eye-watering $553 billion. Today we are diving into the new Oracle. How did Larry Ellison turns a legacy software company into the backbone of the AI revolution? Is this 300 billion windfall a guaranteed victory, or is Oracle building a house of cards on the back of a single customer? So friends, before we move forward, and if you've reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this live stream. This will help us determine the reach of our channel. Alright, let's break it down. To understand the jackpot, we have to look at the numbers. The headline is $300 billion. 5-year contract with OpenAI. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 60 billion in revenue per year from just one client. Why would OpenAI, a company born in Microsoft Azure's cloud, move a massive chunk of its workload to Oracle? The answer is simple: capacity and power. OpenAI's hunger for compute is insatiable. They need electricity and lots of it. This deal involves 4.5 gigawatts of power capacity. That's enough to power 4 million homes. Oracle isn't just renting out existing space, they are building massive new AI factories under a project often referred to as Stargate. We are seeing brand new data centers, campuses in Texas and Ohio, packed with hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs, Oracle's secret weapon. Their infrastructure was built later than AWS and Azure. That sounds like a disadvantage, but it actually means their Gen 2 cloud was designed specifically for high performance workload and modern databases, the exact environment AI needs to thrive. But building a 300 billion cloud isn't easy. You cannot just plug 400,000 GPUs into a wall socket. The traditional power grid cannot handle this. This is where the heating up part of your title gets literal. Just this week, in April 2026, Oracle made a massive move to solve the energy crisis. They have partnered with Bloom Energy for nearly 3 gigawatts of fuel cell power. Instead of waiting for years for local utility companies to build power lines, Oracle is building its own off-grid power plant. They are literally bypassing the grid to ensure their AI servers never go dark. This level of aggressive expansion is why Oracle Cloud Infrastructure revenue jumped 84% in most recent quarter. While the big three are growing at steady clips, Oracle is growing like a startup on a steroid. Now we have to talk about the red flag, which is $300 billion. Sounds great on paper, but Wall Street is nervous. Oracle stock has been going through some intense volatility lately. Why? Because customer concentration. Over 50% of Oracle's future backlog is tied to one company, which is OpenAI. If OpenAI struggles to monetize its model, or if the AI bubble cools down, Oracle is left holding the bill for billions of dollars in hardware and in data centers. Oracle's debt to equity ratio is also significantly higher than Microsoft or Amazon. They are borrowing heavily to build this future. They are spending $50 billion in capital expenditure this year alone. It's a bet the farm movement for Larry Ellison. Is Oracle a ticking time bomb or a visionary genius? The market can't quite decide at this point in time. So, where does this leave us? Oracle has officially graduated. They are no longer the database company or the fourth placed cloud. With 300 billion jackpot in hand, they are the specialized AI cloud. That's the world's most powerful startup as flocking it. The cloud war is heating up because the rules have changed. It's no longer about who has the most features. It's about who has the most GPUs and most gigawatts. And Oracle has both. If they can execute on this backlog and diversify their client base beyond OpenAI, we might be looking at the new king of enterprise tech. But if the AI hype fails to meet reality, the $300 billion windfall could become a $300 billion lesson in over expansion. One thing is certain, Oracle isn't playing it safe anymore. They are playing for the whole jackpot. So friends, what do you think? Is Oracle the best AI player in the market, or the risk is too high? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dive into the tech that is going to shape 2026 and beyond. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you again in the next one. Before I leave, a word about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video.
Long before silicon chips and rocket engines, India's rishis and scholars were sketching the blueprint of science in verses and in logic. From Pingla's binary rhythm to Aryabhat's celestial equation, their insight became the hidden code of modern progress. What we call algorithm, astronomy, rocket science today were once seeds planted in the fertile soil of ancient wisdom in India. To revisit their contribution, we should understand that it is not just a history. It is a reminder that the future was imagined centuries ago, and we are still living in their unfolding vision. So let's find out more. In the quiet corridor of ancient Indian thoughts, Pingla stands as a mathematician sage whose vision stretched far beyond his time. Living around the 3rd, 2nd century BC, he composed the Chandra Shastra, a trusty in Sanskrit parody. At first glance, it was a study of poetic meters, but hidden within its verses lay a revolutionary idea. the earliest known description of binary numbers and combinational patterns. And in his hands, the poetry became the mathematics, and the mathematics became a language of code. So Pingla's binary system was simple yet profound. So he represented sequences of long and short syllables and using marks, and that correspond to what we call today 1 and 0. This was not merely a poetic device, it was a seed of digital logic. Centuries later, the same binary framework would become the foundation of computer science, coding language, and the algorithm that drives artificial intelligence. And in 2026, every smartphone, rocket guidance system, and the quantum processor hums with the rhythm of Pingla's insight. The universe can be described in two states, on and off, presence and absence. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us to determine the reach of our channel. Now, moving forward, imagine the world without Pingla's contribution. Without binary, modern digital revolution would flatter. Computer might still exist, but their architecture would be clumsy, reliant on unwieldy numerical system. Rocket science, which depends on precise coding, error-free communication, would stumble. The artificial intelligence, which thrives on binary logic, would be delayed maybe by centuries. The absence of Pingla's vision would mean a world where the progress limps and instead of leaps. So where the dream of space exploration and the digital connectivity remain distant. So in 2026, his relevance is sharper than ever. As scientists push boundaries in quantum computing, they still rely on binary as the bedrock of classical computation. Rocket science pierce the sky, and their guidance system echoes Pingla's binary rhythms. As artificial intelligence learns, adapt, and evolve, it does so through the string of 1 and 0, the same language Pingla first sketched in the poetic form. His work reminds us that the most advanced technologies are often born from the simplest truth. Modern scientists owe him a gratitude. Every programmer writes code, every physicist modeling particles, and every engineer designing spacecrafts stand on the shoulders of Pingla. His binary vision transformed poetry into mathematics, mathematics into logic, and logic into digital universe. To thank him is to acknowledge that the progress is not only building in the labs or observatories, but also in the mind of sage who saw pattern in verses, numbers in rhythm. Pingla's legacy is reminded that the science is not bound to by any time. His binary system, conceived in an age of oral tradition, poetic recitation, and now drive the engines of rocket science and the algorithm of artificial intelligence. In every line of code, in every rocket launch, in every digital heartbeat of 2026, Pingla's voice resonates. He showed us that the simplicity is the key to infinity. And that form two symbol 1 and 0, the universe of knowledge can unfold. So the legacy of India's ancient scientists is not confined to dusty manuscripts. or forgotten verses. It is actually pulses through every circuit, every rocket launch, every equation written today. Without their vision, the binary code of Pingla, the celestial map of Aryabhat, or the medicinal insight of Charak, our modern world would be poorer. And their wisdom reminds us that the progress is not born in isolation, but carried forward by generation who dare to imagine beyond their age. As we step into 2026 and beyond, every scientist, coder, explorer actually owns a silent gratitude to these rishis of reason for their lit the first spark of discovery that now fuels the engines of science and rocket flights. And in their echoes, we find our future. So we have come to the end of this video. Look forward for your comment on this subject. And please like and subscribe our channel, and we'll see you in the next one. But before we end, few words from our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video.
परिवार केवल रिश्तों का नाम नहीं है, ये हमारे दिमाग और भावनाओं की असली प्रयोगशाला है। जब हम अपने प्रियजनों के साथ समय बिताते हैं, हंसी बांटते हैं, सुख दुख साझा करते हैं, तो हमारे भीतर ऐसी मानसिक ऊर्जा पैदा होती है जो हमें जीवन के हर चुनौती से लड़ने की ताकत देती है। हाल के अध्ययनों ने यह साबित किया है कि परिवार का साथ दिमाग की कार्य क्षमता को बढ़ाता है और भावनात्मक दृढ़ता को पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी मजबूत करता है। आज की तेज रफ्तार दुनिया में जहां तनाव और अकेलापन बढ़ रहा है, परिवार ही वह सुरक्षा आश्रय है जो हमें स्थिरता, आत्मविश्वास और मानसिक शांति प्रदान करता है। यह केवल एक सामाजिक इकाई नहीं है, बल्कि हमारी सोच, हमारी स्मृति, हमारी भावनाओं का आधार है। चलिए इसके बारे में और जानते हैं। मानव जीवन में परिवार केवल रिश्तों का समूह नहीं है, बल्कि ये हमारी मानसिक और भावनात्मक ऊर्जा का भी स्रोत है। हाल के अध्ययनों ने ये उजागर किया है कि परिवार के साथ समय बिताना दिमाग की कार्य क्षमता को बढ़ाता है और भावनात्मक दृढ़ता को पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी मजबूत करता है। जब हम अपने प्रियजनों के साथ बैठते हैं, बातचीत करते हैं, हंसी मजाक जो है वो साझा करते हैं या कठिन समय में एक दूसरे का सहारा बनते हैं, तो दिमाग में सकारात्मक रसायन सक्रिय होते हैं। ऑक्सीटोसिन और डोपामिन जैसे हार्मोन्स हमारे भीतर खुशी और सुरक्षा की भावना जगाते हैं। ये केवल क्षणिक आनंद नहीं, बल्कि दीर्घकालीन मानसिक स्वास्थ्य का आधार है। परिवार के साथ बिताया गया समय बच्चों के लिए विशेष रूप से महत्वपूर्ण है। माता पिता और दादा दादी के साथ संवाद बच्चों के दिमाग में भाषा, स्मृति और भावनात्मक संतुलन को मजबूत करता है। यही कारण है कि जिन बच्चों का पारिवारिक वातावरण सहयोगी और स्नेहपूर्ण होता है, वे जीवन की चुनौतियों का सामना अधिक आत्मविश्वास से कर सकते हैं। वयस्कों के लिए भी परिवार मानसिक ऊर्जा का स्रोत है। कामकाज और सामाजिक दबावों के बीच परिवार का साथ तनाव को कम करता है। जब हम अपने प्रियजनों के साथ भोजन करते हैं, कहानियां सुनते हैं या बस साथ में बैठते हैं, तो दिमाग की थकान दूर होती है और सोचने समझने की क्षमता बढ़ती है। अध्ययनों ने ये भी इस दिखाया कि परिवार का साथ बिताने से भावात्मक दृढ़ता, जिसको कि इमोशनल रेजिलियंस कहते हैं, वो भी बढ़ती है। इसका अर्थ ये है कि व्यक्ति कठिन परिस्थितियों में भी टूटता नहीं है एक्चुअली, बल्कि संभल कर आगे बढ़ता है। ये दृढ़ता केवल एक पीढ़ी तक सीमित नहीं रहती, बल्कि बच्चों और आने वाली पीढ़ियों में भी ट्रांसफर होती है। इस प्रकार परिवार का एक जीवंत अगर रूप देखा जाए तो वो विद्यालय से कम नहीं है, जहां हम धैर्य, सहयोग और प्रेम सीखते हैं। 2026 के संदर्भ में ये और भी महत्वपूर्ण है। आधुनिक जीवन की तेज रफ्तार, तकनीकी दबाव और सामाजिक चुनौतियों के बीच परिवार ही वह स्थान है जहां मनुष्य को अपनी जड़ों से जोड़ता है, और ये जुड़ाव माइंड को स्थिरता देता है और व्यक्ति को मानसिक रूप से स्वस्थ बनाए रखने में मदद करता है। अगर देखा जाए तो परिवार केवल सामाजिक संस्था नहीं है, बल्कि मानसिक भावात्मक शक्ति का केंद्र है। परिवार के साथ बिताया गया समय दिमाग को सक्रिय करता है, भावनाओं को संतुलित करता है और जीवन को सार्थक बनाता है। ये एक ऐसा विशेष, या कह सकते हैं विशेष मोड है या एक निवेश है, जो न केवल वर्तमान को उज्जवल करता है, बल्कि आने वाली पीढ़ियों को भी दृढ़ और सक्षम बनाता है। यदि आप यहाँ तक पहुंचे हैं तो कृपा करके ये बताइए कि आप किस शहर से हमसे जुड़े हैं, किस सिटी से आप हमको देख पा रहे हैं और किस भाषा में ये वीडियो देख रहे हैं। इससे हमारे चैनल की पहुंच को समझने में हमें मदद मिलेगी। अब चलिए इस चर्चा को आगे बढ़ाते हैं। 2026 में और आने वाले वर्षों में पारिवारिक जो इकाई है, कई वैश्विक चुनौतियों का सामना कर सकती है और वो अभी कर भी रही है। आधुनिक जीवन की रफ्तार, तकनीकी दबाव और आर्थिक असमता के और प्रवास के कारण परिवारों में दूरी बढ़ रही है। थोड़े वो अलग हो रहे हैं, न्यूक्लियर हो रहे हैं, लेकिन वास्तविक समय और आत्मीयता को कम कर दिया गया है इस पूरे प्रकरण में। और कई देशों में तो एकल परिवारों की संख्या बढ़ रही है, जिसमें बुजुर्गों का अकेलापन, बच्चों का भावात्मक असंतुलन सामने आ रहा है। इन चुनौतियों का समाधान परिवार के भीतर सचेत प्रयास से ही संभव है। सबसे पहले परिवार को समय देना आवश्यक है। साझा भोजन, बातचीत, उत्सवों में भागीदारी से भावात्मक जुड़ाव मजबूत होता है। दूसरा, तकनीक का संतुलन उपयोग करना चाहिए ताकि डिजिटल दुनिया वास्तविक संबंधों पर हावी ना हो। और तीसरा, कि शिक्षा और सामाजिक नीतियों में परिवार केंद्रित दृष्टिकोण अपनाना होगा, जिससे बच्चे और बुजुर्ग दोनों को सहयोग और सुरक्षा मिले। तो अब हम अंत तक पहुंच चुके हैं और ये एक बार और आपके लिए दोहराना चाहते हैं कि परिवार केवल सामाजिक संरचना नहीं है, बल्कि मानसिक और भावनात्मक शक्ति का आधार है। यदि हम 2026 और आगे की चुनौतियों का सामना करना चाहते हैं, तो परिवार को प्राथमिकता देनी होगी। ताकि वह शक्ति और दिमाग को स्थिर करने में सहयोग दे और भावनाओं को और भी दृढ़ बनाती रहे, और ये पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी जीवन को संतुलित और सार्थक बनाए रख सकती है। सो ये आज का डिस्कशन था। आप से गुजारिश है कि आप इस टॉपिक पर अपने कमेंट हमको लिखकर भेजिए। इसके साथ ही कृपा करके हमारे चैनल को लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलिए। मिलते हैं दूसरे एक डिस्कशन में, तब तक विदा, नमस्कार। Hello, friends. A single gram of DNA can store 115 million gigabytes of data, effectively fitting the entire internet into a shoebox. We are now moving beyond traditional hard drives to encode global data sets into a double helix. This microscopic synthesis of genetics and computing ensure our legacy survives long after the silicon age dies. Our current data centers are crumbling, you know that, and they are energy hungry and destined to fail within few decades. But a new era of biological supercomputer is here, turning synthetic DNA into a permanent carbon neutral library that lasts for millennia. So we are literally rewriting the code of life to serve as the ultimate archive for civilization. Let's find out more about this. In the quiet hum of laboratories across the world, a revolution is unfolding. Not in silicon, but in flesh. For decades, the story of computation has been told through the language of transistors and microchips, or maybe binary code. Yet, beneath the microscope lies a far older and more intricate system, the living cell. Within its membrane, strands of DNA coil, protein fold into the elaborate architecture, and molecular signal dance in the rhythm that rivals the most complex algorithms. Increasingly, scientists are actually beginning to really tell us about this revolutionary, and which is unfolding, and it is for decades the story of computation has been told through the language, you know that, and yet the beneath the microscope lies far older and more intricate system, the living cell, and within its membrane strands, the DNA coil, and protein, and elaborate architecture, molecular signal. So, increasingly, scientists are beginning to see the cell not merely as something which is a building block of life, but a biological supercomputer machine capable of processing, storing, and transmitting information with elegance that silicon can only imitate. So, considering the staggering efficiency of DNA, a single gram of genetic material can encode more data than all the digital archives humanity has ever produced or built. So, unlike hard drives, DNA does not degrade in decades, but can persist for millennia, as proven by the sequencing of ancient remains. Cells, in essence, are natural data center. They replicate information flawlessly and repair corrupted sequences, adapt their programming in response to environmental cues. Where the traditional computer struggles with the energy demands, a cell operates on the quiet power of chemical reaction, consuming more picowatt to sustain their computational dance. But the promise of biological supercomputer is not simply about storage. It is about computation itself. So, synthetic biologists are now designing a genetic circuit DNA sequence that behave like logic gates, turning cellular process into programmable routine. So, imagine a bacterium engineered to detect toxin in water, compute the concentration, and then release a neutralizing agent only if the danger crosses the threshold. So, this is not a science fiction, it is already happening in experimental labs. Cells can be programmed into perform a parallel processing at scale unimaginable to silicon, with billions of organisms working simultaneously. Each runs its own algorithm in the medium of life. So, friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you are tuned in. This will help us to determine the reach of our channel. So, now let's continue with our discussion. So the implication ripple outward in medicine, in biological computing, that could means therapies that adapt the real time, cells that calculate the precise doses of drug based on the patient's internal chemistry, or the immune system reprogrammed to recognize and eliminate the cancer with algorithm precision. So, in environmental science, microbial supercomputer could monitor ecosystem, balancing carbon cycle, or detoxifying the pollutions with self-sustaining logics. So even in artificial intelligence, the prospect of hybrid system with the silicon processors interface with the cellular network suggests a future where the machine learning is not just about digital but about biological, evolving in a way that mimic the natural selection. So of course there are challenges. Cells are not deterministic machines. They are messy sometimes, and they are prone to mutations. So, programming biology requires embracing the uncertainty, designing a system that can tolerate noise and variety of the processes. Yet, perhaps this is their greatest strength. Unlike brittle silicon, living computers are resilient. They adapt, they evolve, and repair themselves. So, in a world facing unpredictable crises from the pandemics to climate change, such resilience may prove more valuable than raw speed. So, the metaphor of the cell as supercomputer is more than a clever analogy. It is paradigm shift. It forces us to rethink that computation means what is its mean and no longer confined to the binary of one and zeros. The information becomes chemical, embodied, alive. So the future of data may not be etched in silicon wafers, but inscribed in the spiral of DNA, carried in the cytoplasm of engineered organism, and execute in the quiet logic of life. So as we stand at the threshold of this new era, one truth becomes clear: the next frontier of computing is not about building faster chips, but about unlocking the algorithm already written into the fabric of existence. Your cells are not just a machinery of survival, they are the future of data, and In their silent symphony, the blueprint of tomorrow's supercomputer is already playing. So we have come to the end of this competition. Computation may not be written in the silicon at all. This is the story we had been discussing, but in the living code of biology. Each cell carries within its a library of logic, a resilience born of evolution, and a capacity for adaptation that no machine can match. As we learn and to harness this hidden intelligence, the boundary between life and technology begins to dissolve. So the supercomputer of tomorrow will not only only a calculate, they will breathe, they will evolve, and they will endure. And this quiet symphony, we may discover that the future of data has always been alive within us. So we have come to the end of this discussion. Please like and subscribe our channel, and I also look forward for your comments on this topic. So see you in the next one. Till then, bye. Take care. In the hollowed halls of Vedic debates, where sages wrestle with the mysteries of existence, one voice arose with fearless clarity, a woman's voice. Gargi, Vachak Navi, and Brahmavadini of Upanishads did not merely join the discourse, she challenged it, questioning the very fabric of reality and daring to ask what lies beyond space, beyond time, and beyond known. She established gender equality. For her, the presence in the Upanishadic assemblies demonstrated the wisdom was not confined to men, but accessible to all seeker. Her courage was not conquest of land, but conquest of thoughts. A victory that will still reverberates in 2026, reminding us that the pursuit of truth is not the greatest empire of all. So let's find out more about this. Gagi Vachak Navi, the fearless philosopher of the Vedic age, stands as one of the earliest recorded women intellectual in history. Her presence in the Brahmavadic Upanishad and is definitely monumental. She remembered as for engaging in profound debates with Yajna Valkya, one of the greatest sage of her time. Gagi's achievement was not merely her participation in philosophical discourse, it was her audacity to question very nature of existence, matter, and infinite at a time when the women's voice were really given a space in public intellectual life. Her most famous inquiry with Yajna Valkya on what is the world woven, wrap, and woof. She actually pressed further until she reached the ultimate questions of what sustain the universe beyond space and time. This relentless pursuit of truth established her as a philosopher of metaphysics, one who dared to probe the mysteries of Brahman, the eternal principle underlying all reality. Gagi's contribution was not only intellectual but symbolic. She embodied the spirit of inquiry, courage, and equality. So, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you are tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us to determine the reach of our channel. So, moving forward, in 2026, Gagi's legacy reverberates in multiple ways. A woman across the world continues to break the barrier in science, technology, and leadership. Gagi's example reminds us that the intellectual courage knows no gender. She insists on questioning the infinite mirror, which actually mirrors today's exploration in quantum physics, cosmology, and artificial intelligence. where the humanity seeks to understand what lies beyond observable matters. Gagi's voice beyond a timeless call to challenge the boundaries, to ask questions that unsettle, and to embrace inquiries as the highest drama. Beyond her celebrated debate, Gagi's achievement includes philosophical authority as she was recognized as Brahmavadini, a woman who had mastered the Veda and philosophy. Her role in education is also profound. Gagi is said to have taught and inspired others, proving that women are integral part to intellectual fabric of ancient India. She established gender equality. Her presence in Upanishadic assemblies demonstrated the wisdom was not confined to men but accessible to all seekers. And culturally and historically, Gagi became the symbol of fearless inquiry. Her name invoked in later tradition as exemplar of women's intellectual and power. Her impact in 2026 is profound. In an era striving for inclusivity, Gagi's life reminds us that the root of equality and intellectual freedom run deep in Indian civilization. She challenged modern society to ensure that women's voices are not only heard but celebrated in every sphere, from philosophy to politics, from science to spirituality. Thus, Gargi Vachak Navi's achievement is twofold. She expanded the horizon of metaphysical thoughts and she shattered the barriers of gender in intellectual discourse. In 2026, her legacy inspires us to keep questioning, to embrace the diversity of thought, and to recognize that the pursuit of truth is the greatest achievement of all. Gagi Vachak Navi's voice, rising from the sacred assemblies of Upanishads, continue to echo across the centuries as the beacon of fearless inquiry. Her achievement was not only in questioning Yajan Valkya, but infinite and in proving that is definitely infinite in proving the wisdom, and wisdom has no boundaries, and her achievement also actually declaring that gender or tradition, there you can actually it's not confined to gender and tradition. So in 2026, her legacy stands as a mirror to our own age, an era where women lead in science, technology, philosophy, carrying forward the same spirit of audacity that Gagi embodied. She reminds us that the true empire is not built on conquest of or power, but on the courage to ask, to challenge, and to seek the eternal truth. Gagi's triumph lies in her refusal to be silent, her insistence that the infinite must be questioned, her gift of showing humanity that the pursuit of knowledge is itself is the highest drama. So her voice endures and urges us to keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep breaking boundaries, because the unconquerable achievement is not in answers but in the eternal quest itself. So we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe our channel, and see you in the next one. In the furnace of ancient India, where the sages where scientists and labs were temples of an inquiry. One name glows like a molten gold: Nagarjuna. Not the philosopher of Mahayana fame, but the metallurgist and alchemist whose experiments with mercury, iron, and transmutation blurred the line between mysticism and the material science. Legend places him in a Vidarbha and Satvahana dynasty, working in hidden labs, chasing immortality, while perfecting techniques that still echoes in modern metallurgy. In 2026, as nanotechnology, refined alloys, and imitation jewelry thrives on his ancient method, Nagarjuna's story reminds us that the quest to transform matter is timeless as human spirit itself. So let's find out more. In the annals of Indian science, Nagarjuna stands as a figure both enigmatic and luminous. While the name Nagarjuna is often associated with great Buddhist philosopher of 2nd century CE, another tradition celebrates him as a metallurgist and alchemist of medieval India. The Nagarjuna, remembered in text and oral tradition, was a master of rasayan, the ancient Indian science of alchemy, and a pioneer in the metallurgy whose contribution continues to echo into the 21st century. Born, according to some account, in Vidarbha and later associated with the Satvahan dynasty, Nagarjuna is said to have established labs in South India. Archaeological evidence from Nagalwadi in Maharashtra suggests that he conducted experiment in metallurgy and chemistry, working with substances like iron, mercury, and his curiosity was not limited to metals. He sought an elixir of immortality, invisibility, and transformation, blending mystical aspiration with a rigorous experimentation. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you are tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us to determine the reach of our channel. So moving forward, his most celebrated text is Rasa Ratnakar, is a compilation of chemical knowledge. In it, Nagarjuna discussed the acid, the metals, and the process of purification. He described a method for extracting gold, silver, tin, and copper, and even outlined the distillation techniques. These writings reveal a mind deeply engaged with the material world, yet always linking a chemical process to the spiritual purification. For Nagarjuna, the act of refining metal mirrored the refining or refinement of soul. Impurities must be removed, whether in the matter or in human character. One of his most intriguing contribution was gold shine mechanism. Through experiment, he discovered the ways to transmute the base metal into substance that resemble gold. While not true transmutation, this process produced a gold-like sheen technology that remarkably is still used today in the jewelry industry for imitation of ornament. Thus, techniques born in ancient labs continue to shape the modern aesthetics. Nagarjuna's influence extended beyond the metallurgy. He was also a physician, a yogi, contributing to Ayurveda through texts like Yoga Satak and the Jeev Sutra. His integration of chemistry with medicine enriched Indian medieval traditions, offering insight into the preparation of compound and the treatment. In this way, he embodied the interdisciplinary spirit, a scientist, a healer, a philosopher, rolled into one. In 2026, his legacy feels strikingly modern. His principle of articulated a systematic experimentation, purification, and transformation resonate with the contemporary chemistry and the material science. His vision of linking matter and spirit anticipates today's holistic approach, where the science and philosophy are not seen as a opposite but as a contemporary path of understanding. Moreover, his experiment in distillation and methodology remind us that India's scientific heritage is not peripheral but central to the global history of science. Nagarjun, the metallurgist, thus emerged as a bridge builder between philosophy and chemistry, between ancient aspiration and modern technologies. His labs may have been simple by today's standards, but his imagination was vast, reaching for the immortality and the cosmic truth, while the grounding itself in the practical art of working with the metals. In honoring him, we recognize not only as a pioneer of Indian alchemy, but also a timeless symbol of human curiosity, the drive to transform, to refine, and to discover. Nagarjun's alchemy was more than a pursuit of gold. It was a pursuit of knowledge itself. In 2026, as we refine materials at nanoscale, explore new alloy for space exploration, we walk a path he helped to lay centuries ago, providing the fire of inquiry he kindled still that inquiry which he kindled that still actually burns within us in 2026. We have come to the end. Please like and subscribe this channel. Look forward for your comments. But before we end, few words about our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video.
The idea of robots living alongside us has been belonged to the realm of science fiction. Yet today it is edging into the reality. With the debut of AI-powered robot designed specially for home use, the boundary between futuristic imagination and everyday life is dissolving. These machines are no longer confined to factory floors or research labs. They are stepping into kitchen, living room, bedroom, promising to transform the domestic routine. The debut of AI robots for domestic use is not just a technological milestone, it is a cultural one also. It sparks curiosity, inspires hope, ignites debate. So, are we welcoming helpful assistants into our lives or surveillance device disguised as a companion? The answer may shape not only the future of our household but also the broader relationship between human and intelligent machine. Artificial intelligence has begun to step out of the research lab and corporate offices into the most intimate of the space, our home. So debut of AI powered domestic robots marks a turning point in consumer technology, one that blends convenience with controversy. So these machines are designed to handle everyday tasks, tidying rooms, monitoring energy use, assisting with cooking, or even offering companionship. And this appeal lies in the promise of freeing up time, reducing household stress, and creating a seamless, smart living environment. For many consumers, the idea of robot that can anticipate the need and act autonomously and feel natural is the next step after smart speakers and connected appliances. Yet, the excitement is tempered by uneasy, and that is privacy debate over flared almost immediately. Unlike a vacuum robot that simply mop your floor plans, and these new AI robots can equipped with advanced sensory cameras, microphones. So they don't just clean, they observe, interpret, and learn. That means that they are constantly collecting data from household routine, personal habits, even private conversations. So for some, this feels like inviting a surveillance device into the living room. The questions become: who owns that data and how securely it is stored? So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will determine the reach of our channel. So going forward, the consumer interest is undeniable. Early demonstrations have drawn crowds, and pre-order suggests a strong demand. Families imagine robots that can help elderly relatives, parents, and vision assistants with the childcare. And the professionals see value in delegating some routine work. So, but alongside with enthusiasm, the critics warn of the risk of dependency and erosion of boundaries. So, if a robot can recognize emotions, respond to the stress, and adapt to the personal preferences, does it cross into the territories of replacing human interaction? So, and if the companies monetize the insight gathered from these robots, does the home cease to be a private sanctuary? So this tension between innovation and intrusion defines the current debate. On one hand, AI robot for home use could actually revolutionize the domestic life. It can provide easiness in the domestic life, making home safer, more efficient, and more responsive. On the other hand, they raise profound ethical questions about autonomy, consent, and surveillance. The debut of these robots is not just a technological milestone, it is a cultural one too. It actually forces society to grapple with what we value more: convenience or privacy, automation or intimacy. For now, the spotlight remains on consumer curiosity. The allure of futuristic living is strong, and many are eager to experiment. But as adoption spread, the conversation will inevitably shift from novelty to accountability. The home, once the most private space, is becoming the next frontier for AI, and how we navigate this frontier will shape not only our domestic life but also our broader relationship with technology. The arrival of AI robots in our home is more than a technical upgrade. It is definitely, as we are discussing, cultural shift. These machines promise efficiency, they also promise safety, and even the companionship, yet they are that is a challenge of our notion of privacy, intimacy within the household. So, as consumer embrace this, and society must also confront the deeper questions: how much of our personal lives are we willing to share with the machines, and who ultimately control that information? So, so that is that whether they become a trusted helper or controversial intruders will depend only on the technological itself, but also value we choose to uphold as we invite artificial intelligence into our most private corners of our lives. So we have come to the end. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe our channel, and see you in the next one. But before we close this live streaming, few words about our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video.
the vast expanse of India's mythological and spiritual heritage, Jamadagni emerges as a figure who embodies both wisdom and strength. A sage of Bhrigu lineage and one of the revered Saptarishi, he was not confined to meditation alone. His life was a rare fusion of scholarship and martial mastery. Jamadagni's household was a sanctuary of Vedic learning where the sacred hymns were preserved, transmitted, yet it was also a place where the science of weaponry, the art of warfare were refined into discipline of dharma, that is righteousness. His bow, saranga, and his knowledge of Dhanur Veda symbolize the union of intellect and arm, teaching the weapon are not instrument of conquest but the guardian of righteousness. Jamadagni's life was not merely about personal achievement, it was about shaping the legacy that would endure through his son Parshuram, the warrior sage who carried forward his father's vision of dharma defended by strength. Thus, Jamadagni stands at the crossroad of meditation and battlefield, of the scholarship and strategy, reminding us that the true greatness lies in the harmonizing wisdom with power. In the tapestry of ancient Indian tradition, Jamadagni stands as a figure of profound duality. At once a sage immersed in spiritual wisdom, and the other part he is the master of martial science. His life reflects the delicate balance between pursuit of knowledge and the necessity of defense, between the serenity of meditation and the discipline of warfare. Jamadagni's contribution to the science of weaponry and the art of warfare are legendary. As a descendant of great sage Bhrigu, he inherited not only the spiritual insight but also a deep understanding of martial techniques. Ancient texts describe him as a custodian of Dhanur Veda, a branch of knowledge that encompass the use of bow, arrow, and divine weapons. His bow, saranga, became the symbol of his mastery, later passed on to his son Parshuram, who wielded it into a campaign against the Kshatriyas. Jamadagni's teaching emphasized discipline, precision, and the ethical use of force that is also applies on warfare. It was not just for the conquest, but for the protection of dharma, which is righteousness. In this way, he elevated martial science into a sacred art and inseparable from moral responsibility. The bow of dharma can be seen in the modern cybersecurity and AI governance. Our digital weapon, algorithms, data, and code must be aimed at protecting truth, justice, and not the exploitation. The legacy reminds us that the technology is powerful only when aligned with the ethical purpose. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will determine the reach of our channel. So going forward, yet the Jamadagni was not merely a warrior sage. His spiritual and scholarly contributions are equally profound. As one of the world's revered Saptarishi, he played a vital role in preserving and transmitting the Vedic knowledge. His devotion to meditation, or spirituality made him a beacon of righteousness. His household became the center of learning. Legend recounts his ability to command nature itself, receiving boons from Surya, the sun god, and harnessing the divine cow, Kamadhenu, which symbolize abundance and substance. These stories reflect his stature as a sage who could bridge the material and the spiritual, guided by, and definitely that will help in guiding humanity towards balance. This was very important in the context of making the balance. If we think deeper and find out in 2026, that is actually more relevant. This continuity reflects how knowledge passes from one generation to the next, and today's AI pioneering inherit both innovation and responsibility. The art of war in 2026 is not just about weapon, but about navigating global conflict in cyber space, in trade wars, and AI ethics. Jamaat Agni's story reminds us that every new generation must weld its tool with wisdom. The tragedy of Jamadagni's death, slain by the men of King Kartivirya Arjun for refusing to surrender Kamdhenu, underscores the eternal tension between the spiritual authority and the worldly power. His martyrdom ignited Pashuram's vow to rid the earth of oppressive rulers, ensuring that Jamadagni's legacy lived on not only in a scholarship but also in action. Through his son, his teaching on weaponry, dharma were carried forward, shaping one of the most dramatic cycles in Hindu mythology. So Jamaat Agni's life thus embodies a rare synthesis, the science of warfare tempered by spiritual wisdom. He demonstrated that true mastery of arms must be guided by restraint, ethics, and devotion to higher principle. His scholarly contribution ensured the continuity of Vedic tradition, while his martial legacy empowered future generation to defend righteousness. And him, the sage and the warrior, were not opposite, but it is kind of a two-face of one life dedicated to preservation of dharma, that is righteousness. Now, if we see in the context of 2026, this mirrors actually how nations and corporations debate the ethical use of AI autonomous weapon. Just as Jamadagnis insisted on restraining, today's leaders grappled with ensuring AI-driven defense system remain accountable to human values. So Jamadagni's life is a reminder that the pursuit of wisdom and the mastery of strength are not opposite paths, but a complementary one. As sage, he safeguarded the Vedic tradition, nurtured the scholarship and the spiritual discipline. As a master of weaponry, he elevated warfare into a sacred science, teaching that arms must serve the righteousness rather than ambition. His martyrdom at the hand of worldly power underscores the kind of softness of spiritual authority. Yet, through Parshuram, his legacy endured and ensured that righteousness would always find a defender. So in Jamadagnis, we see the rare union of scholar, warrior, and meditation, and of course the meditation and the battlefield. His contribution continues to inspire, remind us that the true greatness lies not in domination, but in harmonizing knowledge with the responsibility and strength with virtue. So Jamadagni's contribution lies in his rare synthesis, and also it also reminds us, his story continues to inspire us, remind us that wisdom, strength must walk hand in hand. So please send your comments and subscribe our channel for more insight into Indian mythology and spirituality. See you in the next one. But before we close this live stream, a few words about our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. Hello friends, Namaskaram, and you're most welcome. Let me ask you, are you planning to buy a new vehicle in Delhi? Kindly stop. The Delhi government has officially launched the Delhi EV Policy 2026, and it changes everything for car, bikes, and auto rickshaw buyers. If you buy a vehicle without knowing these rules, you could be missing out on lakhs in savings. In this video, we break down the most ambitious electric vehicle roadmap in Indian history. From tax-free electric cars to massive purchase subsidies, we cover exactly how this policy impact your pocket, your next vehicle purchase, etc. Let's go. As of July 1st, 2026, which is yesterday, the entire landscape of vehicle ownership in our capital has changed permanently. The Delhi government has officially notified the Delhi Electric Vehicle Policy 2026. This isn't just another government circular. It is arguably the most aggressive, comprehensive roadmap for electric mobility as we have ever seen in India. If you buy a vehicle today without understanding these new rules, you are quite literally leaving lakhs of rupees on the table, or even worse, buying a vehicle that might become a headache for you in just couple of years. Today we are breaking down the Delhi EV policy of 2026. We are going to cover the massive tax exemption, the direct purchase subsidies, the new scrappage incentives, and most importantly, the hard deadlines for when petrol and CNG vehicles will be phased out of the market. Let's get to into in the details. But if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in, and this will help us determine the reach of our channel. All right, let's continue. First, let's talk about the scope. This policy is effective from July 1st, 2026 and stays in force until March 31st, 2030. The Delhi government has committed a massive investment of 15,000 crores to make this transition happen. They aren't just hoping for shift, they are actually funding it. The first major win for the common consumer is the tax exemption. If you are eyeing an electric car with an ex showroom price of up to 30 lakhs, you are now looking at 100% exemption on road tax and registration fee. This is an immediate upfront discount on the road price of your vehicle. For those of you who think hybrids are the middle ground, take note. Government has clearly stated that the policy for pure battery electric vehicle only, which is about the tax exemption. Hybrids are not eligible for those subsidies. For the two-wheeler and three-wheeler segment, the incentives are tiered, encouraging early adoption. For electric two-wheeler, the subsidy is rupees 30,000 in the first year, dropping to 20,000 in the second year and 10,000 in the third year. The message is very clear. The government wants you to switch now. Don't wait for 3 years if you can make the move today. The story is even bigger for three-wheelers. We are looking at a purchase incentive of 50,000 in the first year, 40,000 in the second year, and 30,000 in the third year. So if you are a commercial operator or a daily commuter, these are not small figures. They are game changer for your operational cost. Now let's talk about the old car or the bike sitting in your garage. If you own a BS4 or older vehicle, you have been looking for an excuse to get rid of it. Well, you think this is it. Let's get rid of it. The policy introduced a scrappage incentive of rupees 1 lakh for those who scrap their old four-wheeler and replace it with a new electric car. For two-wheeler, the incentive is 10,000 rupees. The commercial truck, it goes up to 50,000 rupees. But and this is a big but, you need to follow the process correctly. You need to obtain a certificate of deposit of your scrapped vehicle and purchase your new EV within a specific window to claim these benefits. These payments will be processed via direct benefit transfer or DBT directly into your bank account. So ensure your documentation is seamless. Why is this titled Don't Buy Before Watching This? Because the window for conventional fuel is simply closing. From January 1st, 2027, you will only be able to register an electric auto rickshaw in Delhi. And for the two-wheeler market, which is huge in Delhi, the deadline is April 1st, 2028. After that day, the registration of new petrol and CNG two-wheelers will be completely phased out. Does this mean your current petrol bike is illegal? No, existing vehicles are safe, but it does mean that resale value of the conventional vehicles might shift significantly as we approach 2028. The government is also targeting 30,000 to 32,000 public charging points by 2030 to support this fleet. They are effectively building the gas station network of the future right under our noses. So, what is the verdict? If you are in the market for a vehicle in Delhi, you now have a roadmap between 1 lakh scrappage benefit, uh, uh, the road tax exemption, and the immediate purchase subsidy. The financial argument for sticking to petrol or diesel is weakening by the day. I strongly suggest you visit the upcoming government EV portal to check your specific eligibility before walking into a showroom. We'll be tracking the implementation of this policy closely on our channel. If you want updates on when the portal goes live or further analysis on how these changes affect the auto market, hit the subscribe button. I'm CK. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Hello friends, Namaskaram. Let me ask you, are you constantly chasing the next quarterly result at the expense of long-term sustainable growth? If yes, then you have reached the right place. Because in this video, we dive deep into this profound question and we will take help from Bhagavad Gita, a timeless piece of wisdom that offers a radical strategy for the modern CEO. This verse, which we are going to discuss today, is going to change your perspective and inculcate your buddhi yoga as a competitive advantage. Let's go and explore this further. Friends, if you are a CEO, a founder, or a leader, you know the feeling. It is the late Sunday night email check. It's the anxiety before the quarterly earning call. It is the constant gaining pressure to hit the next milestone, to land the next client, to inflate the valuation of another 10%. You know, we call this ambition, we call it growth. But, if we are being honest with ourselves, often it is just a form of a fear. We are living in an era of hyper acceleration. The market demands results and it demands them now. But here is the paradox that most leaders ignore. The more you obsess over the result, the fruit of your action, the more likely you are to compromise the very strategy required to achieve it. Today, we are going to look at the piece of the ancient wisdom from Bhagavad Gita, specifically chapter 2, verse 49, that offers a counterintuitive, radical strategy for modern leadership. It's a guide to longevity, sanity, and ultimately better performance. So, friends, if you have reached so far, please let me know the name of your city or a country from where you are, tuned in and watching this video. All right, let's proceed further. Let's look at the verse, chapter 2, verse 49, and the quote start. Choose to act on the basis of disciplined intelligence rather than desire for enjoyment. Only the miserly cling to the fruit of action, O conqueror of wealth. And the quote close. So I want you to focus on the phrase, only the miserly cling to the fruit of action. In the corporate world, we usually think of a miser as someone who, hoard money. But here is the Gita that is pointing to a psychological state. When you are miser in business, you are holding the outcome in your mind. You are so attached to the bonus, stock prices, or the public perception of success that you become terrified of any action that might threaten that result. So when you become attached to the fruit, the result, you stop being effective as a strategist. You become reactionary. You start making short-term decisions that hurt the long-term health of the organization just to hit a quarterly target. You are no longer leading, you are gambling. So what is the alternative? The verse offers a solution, which is buddhi yoga, or disciplined intelligence. The disciplined intelligence is the ability to decouple your identity from the outcome. It's not about being indifferent. It's not about saying, I don't care if the company fails. It's exactly the opposite. It is the ability to throw 100% of your energy, your passion, your talent into the work itself, into the product design, the team culture, the client relationship, while remaining mentally detached from whether the specific quarterly number hits the target or not. Well, why? Because you are detached from the fruit. You are free to make the right decisions, not the safe decisions. Imagine you are the CEO, you have two options. Cut R&D funding to boost the quarter's profits, or maintain R&D to ensure product remains market leading for the next 5 years. So if you are a miserly clinging to the fruits of action, you will cut R&D every single time. You choose the short-term sugar rush for better quarterly report. If you possess disciplined intelligence, you look at the strategy objectively. You do what the business require for the long haul, and you stay on the course. This is not just a philosophy, this is the competitive advantage. When you act without attachment to the results, you lower your cholesterol levels, you reduce your anxiety that leads to burnout. You create psychological safety, not for your teams, because you aren't lashing out with things don't go according to the perfect linear plan. In a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world that we call the VUCA environment, the CEO is unattached to outcome is the most dangerous person in the room. Why? Because they are the only one who can see reality as it is, not as they need it to be satisfy their ego. So when you stop chasing the result, you ironically start producing better ones. Think about the greatest leader in history. They weren't focused on the applause. They were focused on the mission. They were focused on dharma, the duty of the role. When you focus on the quality of your input, the output becomes naturally a byproduct, not a source of the stress. So, friends, how do you apply this? How do you move from miserly CEO to conqueror CEO? First, there are a few things you must do, starting with goal audit. Look at your current KPI. Ask yourself, am I pursuing this because it's fundamentally vital for our mission, or because I'm afraid of how the board or the market will judge me if I miss it? Second, embrace the process orientation. In your next leadership meeting, stop talking about the quarterly target for 5 minutes. Talk about the quality of the current process. Is your team working with integrity? Is your product is solving a real life problem? Is the process is excellent? The result will follow. If the process is broken, no amount of chasing will save you or your company. Now, third, practice radical acceptance. When a result is not what you wanted, practice pausing. Detach from for a moment. Analyze what went wrong in the strategy, not just the frustration of the outcome. This is how you develop the disciplined intelligence. that is mentioned in chapter 2, verse 49. The CEO longevity is not about surviving the quarter, it's about building a legacy that survives the decade. The Gita reminds us to be a conqueror, not a miser. Conquer is the urge to trade your long-term vision for short-term gain. Conquer the fear of unknown by anchoring yourself in disciplined intelligence. Stop chasing results. Start perfecting your actions. So, friends, if you found this breakdown helpful, share it with your colleagues who is feeling the weight of the quarterly grind. And remember, true leadership isn't found in the fruit you harvest. It's found in the seed you plant with intelligence and integrity. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send it across. And I will catch you again in the next one. तो आप सबका स्वागत है। आज जुलाई 10 है और आज शुक्रवार का दिन है। अपना हम दिन शुरू करने से पहले माँ लक्ष्मी की पूजा करेंगे और आपको निमंत्रण देते हैं, आप हमारे साथ जुड़ें। एक छोटा सा मंत्र है, 11 दफा पढ़ेंगे, श्री लक्ष्मी जी के लिए समर्पित है। चलिए हाथ जोड़ लीजिए और लक्ष्मी जी का ध्यान करें और हम अब शुरुआत करने वाले हैं। ओम श्री ह्रीं क्लीं श्री सिद्धे लक्ष्मी नमः। ओम श्री ह्रीं क्लीं श्री सिद्धे लक्ष्मी नमः। ओम श्री ह्रीं क्लीं श्री सिद्ध 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 लक्ष्मी नमः। तो दोस्तों, हमारी आज की पूजा यहीं समाप्त होती है। आपका आगे का जो दिन है मंगलमय हो, शुभ लाभ से भरा हो, इसी कामना के साथ इस वीडियो को यहीं समाप्त करते हैं, लेकिन जल्दी ही मिलता हूं दूसरे वीडियो में। In the world of high-stake business, we talk about freedom. We in fact talk a lot about freedom and market freedom, financial freedom, the freedom to innovate. But for the modern CEO, the reality is often opposite. You are tethered to the stock ticker, bound by the expectations of the board, and often a prisoner to your own decision-making loop. We call this the invisible ceiling, the point where your intelligence and hard work cannot take you any further because your mind is too cluttered with the noise of the trade. But what if there was a way to achieve a state of strategic liberation, a state where you operate with absolute clarity, where your decisions are not reactive but visionary? Over 7,000 years ago, a roadmap for this exact state was laid out in a dialogue on a battlefield. Today we are looking at Bhagavad Gita chapter 5 verse 17. It's not just a spiritual mantra, it is the ultimate executive manual for the 21st century. Those whose intellect is merged in Him, whose mind is one with Him, who are established in Him, for whom He is the supreme goal, their sins being dispelled by knowledge, go to the state from which there is no return. Well, this is a quote and translated into English. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. This will help us determine the reach of our channel, and I will also know who's watching and who's not. Now let's proceed further. To a CEO, this might sound like a religious abstraction, but let's translate this into leadership language. The words identify 4 pillars of focus. First, intellect. What is the intellect? Your strategic analytical power. Next, mind. Your emotional intelligence and focus. Third, establishment. Your core values and conviction. Fourth, the goal. your ultimate vision or the North Star. So the Gita suggests that when these four are aligned with supreme truth, or in the business terms, a transcendental purpose, you reach a state of no return. In business, that is a definition of the legacy. One of the most striking phrases in this verse is the sin destroyed by knowledge. In a boardroom, we don't use the word sin, but we do use word error. In this context, sin refers to the mental impurities that could cloud judgment. Ego, attachment to a specific outcome, fear of failure, cognitive biases, etc. Think of these as the cognitive debt. Every time you make a decision based on your ego rather than data point, you base on how we have always done it rather than the truth. You accrue debt. This debt slows your company down and it creates a friction. So the Gita says this debt is destroyed by knowledge, not just information. We have plenty of that, but realized knowledge is missing here. This is the ability to see the market, your competitor, your own team exactly as they are, without distorting the lens of your own desires or fears. When knowledge destroys error, liberation begins. The verse ends with bold promise, the path of liberation where there is no rebirth. The spiritual terms, this is the moksha. In the boardroom, this is the high performance flow state. No rebirth means you stop repeating the same mistake. Have you ever noticed that how some companies seems to hit the same wall every 5 years? The same culture issues, the same product, market fit struggles, the same leadership turnover, and that is a cycle of rebirth in business. The strategic liberation means moving past those cycles. It means your leadership has evolved to a point where you are no longer a manager of crisis, but a creator of realities. You have reached a level of clarity where you don't have to go back to the old ways of struggling. You are no longer reacting to the waves. You are the ocean yourself. So how does you apply Gita 5.17 on a Tuesday morning before a merger or a product launch? I have few tips for you. First, fix the intellect. Start your day by detaching from the outcome. Focus entirely on the integrity of the strategy. Next, dissolve your ego. Ask yourself, am I making this choice to be right or to be effective? If it is to be right, that's the sin. And the verse mentions this very clearly. Let knowledge dissolve it. Right? Next is establish the North Star. Ensure your supreme goal isn't just this quarter's earning, but a purpose that provides value to the world. When your goal is supreme, your stamina becomes infinite. True leadership isn't about control, it's about alignment. Chapter 5, verse 17 of Bhagavad Gita teaches us that when our intellect, mind, and faith are fixed on a truth higher than our own, we become liberated from the friction of the corporate world. We move beyond the boardroom. We stop being driven by the fear of loss and start being pulled by the power of vision. This is the strategic liberation. That is the path of the sage leader. The question isn't whether you can afford to learn these lessons. The question is, can you afford the rebirth of your past mistakes, and what happens if you don't? My name is CK, and this has been a look into the timeless wisdom of Gita for the modern executive. Thanks for joining live. Thanks for listening. Before we move on to the next video, a few words about our affiliate partner. Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with 2 microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video. Hello friends, Namaskaram. You're most welcome. Prime Minister of India Indira Gandhi's decision to impose national emergency sent shockwaves through India, leading to 21 months of suspended civil liberties, mass arrest of political opposition, and strict press censorship. In this video, we dive deep into the emergency, a defining, controversial, and often misunderstood chapter in Indian political history. Was it a necessary step to stabilize the nation or the death knell of Indian democracy? We explored the events leading up to the declaration, the life changing impact of the citizens of India, and the lasting legacy of this period left on the nation's political landscape. Let's go. It was a quiet night in June 1975. The homes across India, families were turning into the All India radio, expecting the usual news. But on the morning of June 26th, the broadcast was different. The voice on the radio, calm and measured, announced that the president had proclaimed an emergency. Civil liberties were suspended, the press was censored, and the political opposition, they were being rounded up as we speak. That was a voice that mentioned during the All India radio transmission. In a single stroke, the world's largest democracy went dark. For 21 months, India lived under a shadow. Today, we aren't just looking at history, we are looking at the warning. This is the story of the 1975 emergency, the time when the foundation of India were tested to their very breaking point. To understand the emergency, we have to understand the India of the early 1970s. It wasn't a peaceful time. The economy was struggling, inflation was skyrocketing, and there was growing movement on the street, led by a veteran socialist, Jay Prakash Narayan, or JP, as we all know him. So, friends, before we move forward, if you have reached so far, let me know the name of your city or country from where you have tuned in into this video. All right, let's move forward. Mr. Raj Narayan, the man who had lost his election against Prime Minister of India Indira Gandhi, filed a petition alleging electoral malpractices. Justice J.M.L. Sinha delivered the verdict. Indira Gandhi was guilty of using government machinery for campaign purposes. Her election was declared void. She was barred from holding public offices for 6 years. For any leader, this was a political death sentence, but Indira Gandhi was not any leader. She refused to resign, and as the pressure from the opposition mounted, the decision was made. If she couldn't win the political battle, she would change the rules of the game entirely. It was the night of June 25th, 1975, while the nation slept, a massive coordinated operation was launched. Under the cover of darkness, the police began a nationwide sweep. By the next morning, the press was gagged. Electricity was cut to the newspaper offices in Delhi to prevent the printing of protest stories. When the papers did not return, they were blank or filled with government approved propaganda. The democracy that had been built on the dreams of independence was now effectively a one person rule. The constitution was amended, the judiciary was curtailed, and the executive branch held absolute power. So, what was the life like during those 21 months? For an average citizen, it was time of fear and uncertainty. The government, driven heavily by Indira Gandhi's son Sanjay Gandhi, launched initiatives that were touted as development but implemented with lot of brutality. The sterilization drive became very infamous. In a desperate, misguided attempt to control population growth, hundreds of thousands of people were coerced into sterilization. For many, the choice was simple: comply or lose your job, your ration card, or even your freedom. Then there was the beautification drive. The cities like Delhi slums were razed to the ground, displacing the poor to the outskirts of the city. All the names of which were basically eyesores were cleared. There was no one to complain to. The courts were hamstrung. You couldn't speak in public. You couldn't write in the paper. Certainly couldn't organize a protest. It was suffocating silence that lasted nearly 2 years. But the authoritarian regime have a fatal flaw. They stopped listening to the people. Indira Gandhi, perhaps believing her own propaganda that the people were happy, called for election in the year 1977. She miscalculated. The Indian electorate, despite being silenced for 21 months, had not forgotten. In one of the most powerful display of democracy in history, the people of India voted the emergency government out of power in a landslide. Indira Gandhi lost her own seat. It was the first time the Congress party had lost a general election in independent India. So, what is the legacy of the emergency? It proved that democracy in India is not just a constitutional framework, it is a sentiment embedded in the hearts of people. It served as a violent reminder that freedom cannot be taken away in a single night, and it requires a constant vigilance to protect it. In the 1975 emergency remains the darkest chapter in India's modern history. It left behind scars that would take years to heal, but it is also forged a new political consciousness in the country, a realization that power, when left unchecked, will always consume itself. So, as we look back, the lesson is clear: democracy is fragile, it's a garden that needs to be tended in every single day. The 21 month of 1975 taught India that while the government can silence the press, close the courts, imprison the dissenters, it can never fully break the spirit of people who have tasted freedom. So if you found this dive into the history valuable, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape the world we live in today. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to receiving your comments. See you in the next one.
Centuries before telescope unveiled the galaxies and the rover tested the Martian soil, Bodhyana inscribed geometry into sacred verses of Vedas. His Salva Sutra transformed rituals into science, altar into cosmos, and proportions into law. His vision, the diagonal of square, was not just a measure, it was a bridge between Earth and the infinity. Today, as scientists decode organic molecule on Mars and stimulate the universe and map billions of galaxies, the Buddhian's legacy feels startlingly alive. His mathematics whispers across millennia. Symmetry is eternal. The cosmos itself is an altar of proportion. From sacred fire to cosmos light, Bodhian's geometry still validates the universe unfolding design. We are talking about first ever Indian mathematician who came up with the several concepts in mathematics. So let's find out more. So in the long arc of human enquiries, certain names emerges as quite yet foundational. Bodhyanth, the sage of Vedic age, stands among them. Living nearly 3 millennia ago, he authored Salva Sutra, a text that is first glance seemed ritualistic, guides for constructing altar, but in truth, the conceals the profound or construction of mathematical and cosmological wisdom. His work reminds us that the science often begin in service of culture and spirituality, yet transcends them to touch the universal truth. Bodhyanth is credited with articulating what we now call the Pythagoras theorem. Now, centuries before the Pythagoras himself. So, in his verses, he declared how the diagonal of square relates to its sides and how the right angle triangles obey a precise relationship. And this was not an abstract geometry, but its own sake. It was applied science, ensuring that the sacred fire altar were built with a perfect symmetry, aligned human rituals with cosmic order. So in this way, mathematics became a bridge between earthly and the divine. So if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in and in which language you are watching this video. That will help us to determine the reach of our channel. So moving forward on this interesting topic, today as cosmologists map the universe with supercomputer and telescope, the Bodhyanth's spirit lingers. His insistence on proportion, symmetry, and when the scientists describe the geometry of space-time, or when they calculate the curvature of cosmos, they are hiring the tradition that began with the sages who saw geometry as sacred. The altar became prototype for the universe itself, a structure governed by law, balance, and hidden harmonies. So Bodhyanth also ventured into approximations of pi, recognizing the challenges of square, the circle, and this pursuit resonates with today's cosmology when the constant like pi or E and the fine structured constant define the architecture of reality. Just as Bodhyanth sought to reconcile circle and the square, the modern physicists strive to reconcile quantum mechanics and relativity, and two geometries of existence that demands unification. So in the current century, cosmology is ablaze with the discoveries. Dark energies accelerating the universe, gravitational waves rippling through the space-time, and organic molecule found on Mars hinting at habitability. So each breakthrough reminds us that the cosmos is not static but dynamic, layered with mysteries. So Bodhyanth's vision of geometry as a living principle aligned with the modern view. He saw mathematics not as a cold abstraction, but a language of transformation, fire becoming energy, and altar becoming cosmos, proportion becoming harmony. So there is also philosophical thread. Bodhyanth's work suggests that the knowledge is cumulative, passed orally, refined through practice, and embedded in the culture. So today, scientist community mirrors this, building on a centuries of inquiries, sharing data across the continent, and treating discoveries as a collective inheritance. The Large Hadron Collider, the James Webb Space Telescope, or the quantum stimulator are modern altar constructed with the precision to prove the mysteries of existence. In reflecting on Bodhyans, we see a continuum where the Vedic ritual geometry to the cosmological stimulations of universe fate. His legacy is not confined to the ancient India. It is a part of humanity's shared quest to understand the order in chaos. The seven organic molecule on Mars, the a mapping of billions of galaxies, the decoding of quantum materials, all chapter in the same story he began. So the search for the pattern that reveal life, meaning, and the cosmos design. So thus Bodhyan is more than a mathematician of antiquity. He is symbol of how science and spirituality can coverage and how geometry can both alter and universe, and how the ancient insight can resonate with the most advanced cosmological theories of our time, that is 2026. So his voice carried across millennia reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge is itself a sacred act, binding us to the cosmos in a proportion, symmetry, and wonder. So Bodhyan's verses remind us that the search for order in the universe is timeless. What began as a sacred geometry for fire altar now resonate in the equation of cosmology and the mapping of galaxies and decoding of Martian organics. His legacy validates the truth that science and spirituality are not opposite but a companion actually, and each seeking proportion, symmetry, and meaning in the vast unknown. So as the modern discoveries unfold, Bodhyan's voice still echoes. The cosmos is designed. Humanity's role is to read its geometry and reversions and definitely wonder. We do all the time. No? So we have come to the end of this wonderful video. We'll please like and subscribe our channel, and we'll look you in the next one. Waiting for your comments on this topic. But before we actually end this video, few words from our affiliate partner.
Stop settling for a good enough video. If your built-in laptop camera looks like a grainy mess, it is time for an upgrade. Want to instantly level up your video presence? I like to present the Lenovo Performance FHD webcam. This is a game changer for your desktop setup. Technically, this is packed. It has a very sensitive RGB sensor, very crisp photographs it takes. Also comes with two microphones on board, which helps you to record very clear voice in stereophonic format. And these microphones are very sensitive. You can actually move away from the camera up to 2 meters, and these microphones will pick up your voice without any problem. This is a very strong piece. This is very sturdy. Comes with tripod ready. Comes with a very long leash, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to place the webcam wherever you want to keep in your studio. And also it has a swivel base, which is also very handy. So if you want to basically level up your game and you want to pick up this camera at a discount, please click on the link here or scan the QR code. Now let's get back to our video.
Hello, friends. What happens when the world's most powerful firm trade their algorithm for ancient philosophy? We are dissecting the high-stake friction between ruthless efficiency and the human need for meaning. It is July 2026 and the era of silicon-driven productivity has hit a wall. To survive this year's market shift, the world's most powerful CEO are bridging the gap between high-tech metrics and the human-centric wisdom. Discover how redefining modern leadership through the purpose rather than mere data points is the only way to build a future-proof corporate culture. So let's find out more about this. In the early years of a digital revolution, algorithms were hailed as the ultimate arbiter of efficiency. They promise precision, speed, and the elimination of human error. Corporations invested billions in predictive analytics, machine learning model, and automated decision system, and they were convinced that the future of strategy lay in the cold logic of computation. Yet, as the dust of technological euphoria settles, a new reality is emerging, and that is human capital. The creativity, the intuitions, and the adaptability of people is outperforming the algorithm in the most critical arena of strategy. The shift began with the recognition that the algorithm, while powerful, are bounded by the data they consume. They excel at pattern recognition, but flatter when they're confronted with the ambiguity and or novelty or maybe ethical complexity. Human being, by contrast, thrives in uncertainty. So a strategy who is in navigating the volatile market, geopolitical upheavals, and cultural shift cannot rely solely on historical data sets. So they must interpret the signals, the imagine possibilities, and craft narratives that inspire collective actions. So this is where the human capital assert its superiority. So in the ability to connect dots that machine cannot see or maybe and to imbue the decision with the meaning that algorithm cannot generate. So consider the realm of leadership. Algorithm can optimize supply chain or forecast consumers' behavior, but they cannot galvanize a workforce around a shared vision. So leaders who harness the empathy, storytelling, and the moral conviction create momentum that no machine can replicate. So the pandemic underscored this truth. Organizations that thrived were not those with the most sophisticated predictive model, but those whose leader communicated trust, adapted policies with compassion, and empowered the team to innovate under pressure. So human capital became the decisive factor in resilience. Creativity is another domain where the human outperform. Algorithm can remix existing ideas, but genuine breakthrough, whether in art or in science or in entrepreneurship, spring from the human capacity to dream beyond constraints. So the innovation of the electric car or the rise of social enterprise or the fusion of ancient wisdom with modern leadership practices are not a product of algorithm and it cannot be calculated by algorithms. So they are the fruit of imagination, risk taking, and the courage that defy conventions. So in this sense, human capital is not merely outperforming our algorithm. It is also redefining the very boundaries of progress. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you have tuned in, and this will definitely help us to determine the reach of our channel. So now continue with our discussion. Now comes the kind of a question of ethics and value. Now, ethics and value further highlight the limit of automation. Algorithm can recommend action, but they cannot actually find out the moral consequences. Should a company prioritize the profit over sustainability? Should a government deploy surveillance technology at the cost of privacy? So these are not computational questions, they are human dilemmas. The strategy shift acknowledge the decision of consequences must be grounded in values, and only human judgment can navigate the terrain of responsibility. So, in fact, the most forward-thinking organizations are embedding the ethic officers, diversity actually companion. They are appointing diversity companions and cultural stewards into their strategy team role that algorithm cannot fulfill. So the irony is that the triumph of human capital does not diminish the importance of algorithm. Instead, it reframes them as a tool rather than the masters. So algorithm provide insight, but human decide which insight matters. Machine accelerate the processes, but human determines the decision of continue with that kind of way or decision, maybe a direction of travel. The strategy shift is not about rejecting a technology. It is about reclaiming the agency. It is about recognizing that the ultimate competitive advantage lies not in faster computation, but in a deeper connection between people, ideas, and value. This shift also signals a new era of organizational design. Companies are investing less in rigid automation and more in cultivating the adaptive talent. So training programs emphasize critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and cross-disciplinary collaboration. So recruitment strategies giving priority to diverse of perspective, knowing the innovation that flourishes at the intersection of differences. So the workplace is being reimagined as a lab of human potential, where algorithms serve as an assistant, not as the architects. So the implication ripple outward. In education, curriculum are evolving to balance digital literacy with humanistic inquiry. In governance, the policymakers are learning that the algorithm regulation must be tempered by public dialogue and ethical foresight. So in culture, the stories that resonate are not those of machine conquering the humanity, but the humanity reclaiming the role as an author of destiny. So the narrative is shifting from human versus algorithm to human beyond algorithm. So ultimately, the strategy shift is a reminder of that what makes us as a human. So algorithm can calculate, but they cannot care. They can predict, but they cannot hope. So they can optimize, but they cannot dream. So human capital outperform because it transcends the measurable. It brings to strategy that intangible forces of imagination, empathy, and the moral courage. And in the world where the uncertainty is only a certainty, and those forces are not luxuries but necessities. The future strategy then is not a contest between human and machine. It is a partnership in which the algorithm handles the mechanics while the human shapes the meaning. The organization that will lead tomorrow are those that understands this balance. So they invest in the technology, but more importantly, invest in people. For in the end, it is human capital, that living, breathing, dreaming essence of humanity that outperform the outlast and outshine the algorithm. So lesson of this era is very clear. Algorithm may calculate the probabilities, but it is human capital that defines possibilities. Strategies are no longer about who has the fastest machine or the deepest data set. It is about who can imagine, inspire, and adapt. So, the organization that will endure are those that treat technology as an ally, not as a replacement. A place where the greatest investment in people. For in the grand contest between code and consciousness, it is the human spirit, curious, creative, and courageous, that ultimately outperform. So future belongs not to the algorithm but to the strategies who knows how to wield it while never surrendering the irreplaceable power of human judgment. So what do you think about this? And please post your comments on this topic. Also, kindly like and subscribe our channel. So we'll meet in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye. For years, Anthropic Claude was known for as a conversational powerhouse on AI that could reason, that could assist, and also solve the complex tasks. But today, in 2026, the company has decided to redraw the boundaries of creativity. With the debut of Claude Design, Anthropic actually has stepped boldly into the visual arena, and where it offers the tool that transform and to the plain language into a polished and presentation, prototype, and marketing visual. This is not just another AI feature, but it is reimagination of how the idea takes shape. No templates, no plain canvases, just words flowing into images. For entrepreneurs, for educators, and the creators, Claude Design promises speed and accessibility. And for a design industry, it raises the questions about the originality and artistry, and the role of human imagination in the era of machine learning, machine marketing, visual. So let's find out more about this.
Hello, friends. Namaskaram. You are most welcome. In today's fast evolving corporate landscape, a massive shift is underway at the top. Why some of the world's most successful CEOs actively walking away from the traditional model of corporate greed and absolute ownership. In this video, we break down the rise of stakeholder capitalism, purpose-driven leadership, and why the modern icons are prioritizing long-term societal impact over short-term financial extraction. We will take help from Bhagavad Gita in order to resolve this conflict. Let's go forward and explore this further. Friends, picture this. You have just hit every single metrics on your board deck. Your stock price is up. Your investors are thrilled, and your name is featured in the business magazines. By every traditional metrics, you have won the corporate game. So why does it feel like you're trapped in a cage of your own making? Welcome to the modern CEO's dilemma. We live in an era where the leadership is measured by hype, scale, relentless control, and the accumulation of the corporate territory. We are taught that to be a great leader, you must own everything, protect your turf fiercely, and feed on endless hunger for more. But beneath the polished surface of the quarterly earnings, reports, and public accolades, a quiet crisis is unfolding. Burnout is at an all-time high. Trust in the leadership is fracturing, and executives are discovering that the very trait they use to reach the top, which is ego, greed, and obsessive sense of ownership, are the exact thing destroying their peace of mind and, ironically, their long term business resilience. What if the blueprint for the modern executive leadership isn't hidden in the latest Silicon Valley management book, but a text written over 5,000 years ago? Today we are looking at chapter 2, verse 71 of Bhagavad Gita, and why the most visionary, enduring business leaders of our time are quietly abandoning greed and ownership and finding unprecedented success because of that. Let's break down the ancient wisdom of this verse and translate it into the high stake reality of the modern boardroom. The first trap the Gita identifies is the sense of ownership. As the founder and the CEOs, we love the word my company, my vision, my team, my market share, etc. Psychologically, we fuse our personal identity and the corporate entity into one. When the company wins, our ego inflates. But when the company struggles or when the competitor makes a move, that the same sense of ownership triggers an acute psychological threat, and that is a negative response. When you view your business as your personal possession rather than a temporary trust, every market shift feels like a personal attack. Think about what happens when a CEO operates entirely from a sense of ownership. What you would end up doing first is micromanagement, and micromanagement takes over because everything belongs to them. They cannot delegate effectively. They become the bottleneck for every major decision. They also become defensive, replaces adaptability. Innovation requires experimentation, which requires failure. But if failure threatens the CEO's ego and sense of ownership, they will suppress dissenting voices and cling to failing strategies just to protect their pride. Next is isolation. Basically, the isolation deepens for the leader or the CEO. The top gets very lonely because the CEOs surround themselves with yes man who validate their ownership and ego rather than truth tellers who challenges the status quo. The most successful CEOs today are shifting from being owners to being stewards. They realize that they don't truly own the company. They are temporary custodian entrusted with resources, people, and mission at large rather than themselves. The second pillar of verse 71 targets the desire for self enjoyment and greed. In business, greed isn't always about holding money in an offshore account. The executive suite, greed often manifests as obsessive pursuit of short term metrics at an expense of a long term health. So cutting R&D to boost next quarter is one of the example where the R&D is brought to minimum, and so that you always show profits in the your quarterly report. Exploiting employee bandwidth to squeeze out a few extra percentage points for productivity. Prioritizing personal stock options and compensation packages over the sustainable value of enterprise. For decades, there are different doctrines of shareholder, primacy told us that the sole social responsibility of business is to increase its profit. And for a long time, CEO played that game ruthlessly. But look at the corporate landscape today. Companies built purely on executive greed and short-term extractions are quite fragile. They suffer from massive employee turnover, regulatory crackdown, and total lack of consumer trust. The Bhagavad Gita calls out the calm, which is the desire for self-enjoyment. When leaders' primary motivation becomes feeding their own status, comfort, and the financial accumulation, the organization turns into an instrument for one's person's ego. Notice what verse 71 promises. It promises peace. Not stress, not perpetual anxiety, not the frantic need to check your phone at 2 a.m. to see if your stock dropped. It offers you peace. True strategic clarity can only exist in a mind that is not constantly hijacked by greed and self some sort of self-involved mind. When you stop asking what is there for me, how does that make me look, your decision making instantly becomes sharper, more objective, and deeply magnetic to the top tier talent. Now, you might be asking, if I give up greed, ego, and sense of ownership, won't I lose my drive? Won't the company fail if I'm not fiercely aggressive? This is the most common misunderstanding of the ancient philosophy and specifically the Bhagavad Gita text. Detachment does not open apathy. It doesn't mean you stop caring about revenue, growth, or even winning. So, the Sanskrit philosophy or the Bhagavad Gita philosophy, this is known as the asakti, which is non-attachment to the fruit of action, combined with total commitment to the action itself. And here is what this looks like in practice for modern CEO. And in fact, you can follow this in order to change your outlook. First is the fear execution, which is zero personal ego, and that is one thing that you must learn. Fierce execution without any ego. You work harder than anywhere else in the room, but you don't need the credit. When a project succeeds, you spotlight your team. When it fails, you absorb the blow and protect your people. Your self worth is decoupled from the daily fluctuations of the stock market or public opinion. Number two, the stewardship over possession. You treat the business as a vehicle to serve the customers, empower employees, and solve the meaningful problems. Because you don't view the company as an extension of your ego, you can make clear eyed, courageous decisions like pivoting away from legacy product or even stepping down when someone else is better suited to lead the next phase of the growth. Number three, freedom from chronic anxiety. When you release the psychological burden of trying to control every external outcome, your cognitive bandwidth free up. You move from reactive panic to strategic intuitions. You lead from a place of inner stability, which act as calming anchor for your entire executive team during the times of crisis. So, friends, let's circle back to where we started. We live in a hyper competitive, high pressure business world. The temptation to let ego, greed, and obsessive ownership drive your career is immense. And it's what the society tells you us success looks like. But the most successful, respected, and enduring CEOs of our generation, the ones who build their generational institutions rather than flash in the pan empire, have quietly figured out the secret of chapter 2 and verse 71. They realize that ultimate competitive advantage in business isn't ruthless aggression, it's the inner peace. When you give up the crushing weight of ego, when you let go of greed, and when you transition from anxious owner to a purposeful steward, you stop fighting with the market. You start mastering yourself, and when you master yourself, leading the market becomes natural. So if this resonated with you, hit the subscribe button, friends. Share this video with fellow leaders and let me know in the comments, where in your business are you holding on too tightly? Thanks for watching. Lead with purpose, and I will catch you soon in the next one. Hello, friends. You're most welcome. Namaskaram. Is India on the verge of AI led transformation with Reliance Industries leading the charge? In this video, we break down Mukesh Ambani's massive AI gambit from 2026 annual general body meeting and explore how Reliance is pivoting to become the sovereign backbone of Indian digital economy. From unveiling of Reliance Intelligence to the ambitious build out of a massive AI data center in Jamnagar powered by Nvidia, The latest hardware Ambani is being very big, betting very big, and we analyze 110 plus billion investment roadmap, the integration of AI directly into the geo network, and why Reliance is aiming to make AI for India by India a reality for 1.5 billion people. Let's go. We've all seen the news, but have we truly grasped the scale? The Reliance industry, a titan built on oil, petrochem, and retail, is making a decisive pivot. They are transitioning from telecom giant into a AI first, a group. This isn't just an upgrade; it's a aggressive, calculated AI gambit to become the sovereign backbone of India's digital economy. The question isn't whether they will do it. The question is, are they about to own the future of India's digital landscape? Today, we are deconstructing the strategy, the infrastructure, and the massive shift in the chessboard of Indian technology. Let's dive in. But before that, friends, if you have reached so far, let us know from which city you have tuned in into this particular video. Alright, let's move ahead. Let's start with the pivot. For years, Geo was about connectivity. It brought the internet to the masses, democratizing access to data. But connectivity is just a commodity. Once everyone is connected, where do you go from there? You go intelligent. Reliance currently, looking at the strategy about embedding AI into the very DNA of the network. They aren't just selling data plans anymore. They are looking to sell the utility of artificial intelligence. Think of it as a shift from electricity, where you just have the power, to smart grid that knows how to optimize your own load. By integrating AI directly into the ecosystem from Jio Bharat platform to their retail arm, they are creating a closed loop system. When you use their network, you are training their models. And when you use their models, you are staying within their network. This is a definition of the digital moat. They are moving the battlefield from the speed of your internet to the capability of AI tools you interact with every single day. If the AI is the engine, data is the fuel, and Reliance has realized something critical. You cannot rely on foreign cloud if you want to rule the Indian market. You need to become sovereign. You need to think sovereignty. And this is why the Jamnagar infrastructure plays a so significant role. We aren't talking about small server farm. We're talking about massive data centers built to house high performance computing hardware that can process AI models at very high scale. By building this sovereign AI backbone, they achieve two things. One, lower latency, keeping the data local means faster response for the end user. Number two, data sovereignty. In a world where data privacy is the new gold, Reliance is positioning itself as a trusted custodian of Indian digital information. They are effectively building a national AI cloud. And for an enterprise to have the capital and the land to build this at a scale of a country rather than a company is a structural advantage that hard for competitors to match. And here is where the gambit becomes brilliant. Much of the global AI development happens in English for an English speaking audience. Reliance strategy is AI for India by focusing on multilingual models supporting the 22 major languages. They are unlocking the next billion users who were previously excluded from the AI revolution. This is the democratization of intelligence. Imagine a small business owner in a tier 2 city using a voice activated AI built by Reliance that handles their inventory, their accounting, and their customer queries all in their local dialect. This is not just the feature, it is an economic transformation. By lowering the barrier to entry. Reliance isn't just chasing high end, high tech market, they are capturing the entire pyramid of the Indian economy. Now, is this a guaranteed win? No. A gambit, by definition, involves sacrificing a piece to gain a dominant position. And the risks are real. What are the risks? Number one is regulatory scrutiny. As a company becomes the gatekeeper of country's digital infrastructure, regulator naturally start asking questions about the competition and their liability. Number two is execution speed. AI moves at light speed. Can a massive group maintain the agility of a startup? Number three, the competitors. We cannot forget that the global tech giants are also looking at India, and they want to set up big firms in India as well. Reliance is betting that their distribution network, the fact that they are already on your phone, your stores, and your homes, is the ultimate trump card. They aren't just selling technology, they are selling the ecosystem. And in the digital age, ecosystems are how you win. To wrap up, the Ambani AI gambit is the most significant corporate shift we have seen in this decade. It's a transition from being a service provider to becoming an architect of our digital reality. Whether this lead to a new era of prosperity or a concentration of power is something we will have to watch closely. And strategy isn't about what you do today, it's about anticipating the world of tomorrow. It seems that tomorrow is being written in code right here in India. I am Chandrakant, and if you found this breakdown valuable, hit the subscribe button, join our community. We are here to decode the shifts that matter. Until next time, friends, keep thinking strategically, and I will see you very soon in the next one.